This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good morning, everybody, and a warm welcome to andBeyond's Phinda Private Game Reserve. This morning we've come out to the floodplain to look for those cheetah that we were with yesterday. Instead, we were greeted with this most amazing sunrise. Our name is Matt. This morning behind the camera we've got Glenn. And yeah, welcome to your morning safari live from the African bush. Good morning, everybody. We've come back out to the floodplain in the far southeastern parts of the reserve in the hopes of finding those cheetah. They yesterday, I think, got active quite late on in the evening because it was such a hot afternoon. And in the spot where they were, feels like every plains animal in the southern parts of this reserve. There are herds of wildebeest, zebra, impala. We even saw 2 side-striped jackals making their way. In fact, we might still be able to get them in picture off to our right-hand side, moseying about in the open. But we were greeted by this amazing sunrise with a little bit of mist coming off the Mzaneni River, which makes up our southeastern boundary. Those cheetah, would now be on the move in the nice cooler parts of this morning. Today looks like it's got the potential to be a scorcher. So first thing we did was come straight back to where they were left. But in the areas exactly where they were, is quite a nice herd of zebra and wildebeest. So I think they would have moved on since then. Not much of a breeze blowing this morning, which is quite nice. But this is the time that we would find those cheetah moving about. You might hear the odd grunt or moan and groan from the wildebeest behind us, somewhat of a mini migration, or not so much a migration, but very still standing wildebeest this morning. There are a couple of youngsters, obviously, them calling their mothers and vice versa. But if we have a look off to the left, you might be able to see those herds of zebra that I was talking about just now. But yeah, such a calm morning this morning. We are actually really spoiled coming out here first thing. I think my favorite part of the day is first thing in the morning, when everything's a little bit more active. Birds get all chirpy and just announce that they've survived through the night. But good morning, everybody. My name is Matt, and behind the camera we've got Glenn. And yeah, today, not greeted by cheetah, but just the plains animals that are now in their place, moseying about literally in the exact same spot that we left those cheetah in yesterday. Sir 50, thank you for your comment. Absolutely, that sunrise was spectacular, and we spoiled waking up at Mountain Lodge Phinda every morning facing east. You can see most mornings, if it's not overcast, that sun poking its head on the other side of the coastal sand dune to greet us every morning. So we really are spoiled, and already now for 5:30 in the morning, that temperature's starting to rise, and I think it's going to do that all morning. So if we're hoping to find those cheetah at least up and active now, we would have to find them relatively soon, because once it starts warming up too much, they'll disappear into a spot like they were yesterday and just rest for the heat of the day. Everyone's sort of spread out far and wide this morning to look for that leopard, look for lions, us with the cheetah. I might just carry on driving around the floodplain to see if we don't find any signs of them. But we're going to head off to Ngala and see what they've got this morning.
So I am sitting here on a beautiful morning with a young male elephant. He's a beautiful young bull here at andBeyond in Ngala. We've got a lovely day here with some clouds and some beautiful blue skies. My name is Tessa. I'm going to be your guide this morning here at andBeyond in Ngala. Behind the camera we have Sebastian, and we are going to be sitting with this male elephant until he decides to move out of the road. But at the moment he looks like he's having a really good feed on that beautiful green tree. You can see how nice and dense it is in here. And we actually came this way looking for the pack of wild dogs, because we bumped into them again last night in this area. He's quite a stunning young bull. He does have decent tusks, actually, considering that a lot of elephants tend to have smaller tusks in the current time that we're in. And you can see how easily he camouflages. He's completely gone. But all he is he's just on the right-hand side of the road at the moment. He's probably going to be walking into those thickets and carrying on through there looking for some more food. I mean, that's what elephants do majority of the day, is look for food and eat for 23 hours of the day. Sometimes I feel like I do the same. So it is incredibly thick. He's actually just off to my right-hand side, but you can barely see him. All I can see is a tail swishing through there. So it just shows you how quickly they do camouflage. And he's moving around now while it's nice and early, because it's nice and cool. There's actually another elephant that's just coming up from our left-hand side. And he has got some beautiful tusks, but he's hiding off in the bushes here on the left. You can just see the top of his trunk moving every now and then in the light, and the top of his ears. There you can see him. So these might be two young males that have been moved out of their herd, which would have happened at around 12 or 16 years old, and then moved, because they start getting a bit rough when they hit puberty, when they start testing their own strength. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to give him a little bit of space, because he looks like he wants to cross. I don't think he remembered that we were here. So I'm going to have to give him a little bit of space here to cross, because he looks like he wants to follow his friend. It is a really, really nice, cool morning for them to be moving. This one is actually eating more grass than leaves. The other elephant was eating majority leaves from that spike-thorn tree. He's got slightly smaller tusks, but you can see how he's thrashing that grass around before he puts it into his mouth. And for elephants, it's actually really, really good at this time of the year, because they have so much food available. Natasha, elephant bulls can get up to around 6 tons, 6,000 kilograms. And that is actually fairly large. So female elephants will get to maybe 4.5 to 5,000 kilograms. I think the largest on record, though, was actually closer to 11 tons, 11,000 kilograms. actually so wonderful to be able to spend time with elephants because you don't really appreciate their size until you actually see them. But what always amazes me is, yes, you can hear it feeding, you can hear the bushes moving when he is feeding. You can't actually hear him walking. Another one just tried to steal food out of its mouth. Wow. A lot of noise going on from these elephants this morning. And already flapping those ears a little bit, not consistently, but enough just to start getting that blood cooling down. It isn't hot here this morning. I was actually just about to put on my fleece jacket because it is still a little bit cold. But those ears are flapping a little bit, trying to get him cool already, almost trying to get a head start. And he's got quite a few flecks of mud on him. He's clearly had a bit of a mud bath at some point where he tried to splash his ears. So when they're still like that, you can barely hear anything. He's scratching himself on the tree. So these two might just be together just for company, just because it's nice to be with somebody else. But they don't necessarily need to be. Gracie, yes, the trees don't stand a chance against elephants. These two are still quite young, but they are very strong already. And they most certainly could start pushing trees over. We're going to have to reposition a little bit. So we want to keep some distance from elephants, especially here at andBeyond and Ngala. And they're actually, he looks like he wants to cross the road, so I'm going to try and get you a picture of that. I don't know if Sebastian's going to be able to get that clearly. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave these elephants to go on their way. I'm going to send you over to Tristan, who's excited to say good morning.
Well, good morning everybody and welcome to Djuma. As Tess has already started with Ellie's, we've at least managed to find hyenas at the den today, which is good. I was pretty hopeful as soon as we came in because the tracks were all over the place again, up and down the access roads, which haven't been here for the last couple of days, which maybe meant that they were busy with something else. Sometimes hyenas find other things to do and the den can be quiet for a couple of days. It was just worrying because there wasn't any tracks to speak of, but as you can see, there's hyenas lying all over the place and chewing the cars already, as is pretty typical at the den. My name's Tristan on camera, I've got him Paul, and like I said, it's a warm welcome to Djuma. That we've managed to catch up with these guys. I was kind of, as we were driving in, thinking that we might not have much luck because we came across Corky leaving. She's kind of left and is walking away, so I thought, well, maybe if she's left, there's not going to be anybody at home. Two that are playing on the other side, having a big game. I can't see who it is. I wonder if it's not going to be worth going that side. Also, I've got two in the front, two nonsenses that are busy chewing the car. I can feel it on the front of the vehicle. They don't even go anymore. They used to move if you turn the ignition, because the ignition starts the fuel pump, and the fuel pump sound. What are you doing? Yes, you guys have become naughty, haven't you? You figured out that cars are entertaining. Okay, but you're not allowed to put your head there. Nope. Come. So the one's got its head. I don't mind them if they come and sniff tires and things, but the one habit that we never want hyenas to get into is putting their noses where our kind of feet go, and in the sort of footwell of the car. So I always just try and kind of keep them from doing that. Like I say, at the moment I've got 2 rubbishes that are trying to do that, and every now and then you just got to make sure that they understand that that's not a place that they're allowed to put their heads in. Now, the reason why is because at little cubs like this, it's cute and it's funny and it's, people enjoy the fact that they kind of close. No, hey, no. You're not allowed to eat the tires, stop it. But when it comes to them being bigger and being adults, if they start to kind of put their heads into your footwell and start to kind of play and pull on your shoes and things like that, that's only going to lead to issues and to something that can be potentially dangerous. So always try and discourage that kind of behavior as much as possible. All right, we'll switch over at the den. Hopefully the little ones will actually move away from the car so that you can see them. And in the meantime, they'll send you back across to Phinda.
Welcome back, everybody, to Phinda. And look who we've managed to find quite a bit further away from where they were left last night. But these 5 cheetah, an incredible story of the 5 of them. And Archer and the floodplain, what an absolutely exquisite view. And they're heading straight back towards the area where we've just come from, and there are a couple of wildebeest calves in the mix, and in amongst those calves there was one that was lagging a little bit behind with a bit of a limp or an injury. So, if they were to go back into that direction, although there is a wall of zebra between them and those wildebeest, which could very well chase these cheetah in the opposite direction, they've got a good chance of finding a meal. There were impala there as well, a couple of young lambs. So I think because we found them on the move this morning, we've got a good chance of seeing them at least attempting to hunt. And with the 5 of them, maybe not quite at the age where, they're not quite at the age where their mom would be happy to let them go on their own. They would still be with their mom for the next year, maybe 14 months before they were fully independent. But this almost looks like something out of the Serengeti, with the 5 of them making their way through this open area. And I've only ever seen pictures of this many together with coalitions. I think there's a coalition of those 5 males in East Africa. Aaron, you're asking if any of the big cats' tails puff up when they get startled. They don't. No, they might just make themselves look bigger and flare themselves up, but not so much their tails. If anything, they'll flick their tails if they get a fright or if they're not happy with something in the vicinity. I might just have to turn around now, just for you to get a better view of the 5 of them. I will switch off shortly. And I'm glad we caught them when we did, because the area that they're moving into is quite thick, and I don't think we'd be able to follow them where they're going if they do carry on straight up and across the road. But we'll see now where they go. Beyond them is that herd of zebra that I was talking about, and with those zebra were the impala. Almost using those tactics that you would imagine lions to use when one of them flanks around the other side. So if something does get flushed towards the others, it just increases their chances that much more of catching something. Joyce, you're asking if these cheetah siblings will stay together for life? Indeed they will. At least the males in this litter will stick together. I think there are 3 males and 2 females. So the 3 males will stick together for life. They'll form a coalition just because they're stronger in numbers. And then the females might when they reach independence at around 2 years old, might just stick together as well for a couple of months before they eventually go their own way and look to start a litter of their own. So not all of them will stick together, Joyce, but yeah, at least the males in this litter will stick together. Just going to creep slightly further forward because they are now walking away from us and out of view. And now you might be able to see where that one is on the far left-hand side. Just beyond that is where the... I'm getting tangled up here. Is where that herd of zebra are. Might just park at a distance like this for you, and we can just sit and watch them from a distance to see what they get up to from here. Obviously don't want to get in the way of their hunt this morning. Beautiful view looking back over further west of this reserve. Those mountains in the background starts with the Limbombo Mountains. But you might just be able to pick up one or two zebra in that herd. You see how they stop and sit every so often just to observe and make sure, or sort of weigh up their options of going for a herd that has zebra in it. Might be a little bit more risky because those zebra, like we've seen before, will definitely start chasing those cheetah. And unlike that occasion where we saw them climbing trees to get away, there are no trees out here in the open for them to get away. So it would just be a mad dash to get away in time. And in the early morning, you can already see a couple of those zebra chasing each other in the background, distracted by one another. It could be ideal for these cheetah to capitalize on animals that are distracted this morning. But they are heading straight back towards that big herd of zebra. We saw quite a few impala there as well as some warthog. So really anything can happen, and even in an area like this, something could flash as something as small as a scrub hare, and you might see the five of them sprint off and try and catch it. I'm going to have to creep further forward. They are moving quite quickly this morning. And Emery, you say these cheetah are seem to be thriving. They're in really good condition. They are in really good condition. They've gone a couple of days now, I think, without having fed, so now would be the perfect time for them to hunt again. Being the five of them, they obviously have to hunt quite regularly. But they indeed are thriving, and for them to, not only survive for so long, but we're going to head across to see what Steve's got this morning.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome on board. Welcome on board our vehicle. We are just on the southern section of Buffelshoek, an area called Sydney's Dam, where the Talamati Pride has been found. They're all over the place here at the moment. Hello, everybody. My name is Steve, joined by Theotainment on camera. We are very excited to have you with us. A bit of a disappointing morning for a male impala who is being eaten over there. The whole Talamati Pride, it seems, is nearby, and there were at least 3, maybe 4 hyena that came into this area. They probably heard the commotion. I heard them making lots of noises this morning. And buffalo herd came through Sydney's Dam last night onto Djuma. I tracked them just now. They've gone over to Arathusa side. And normally we have the lions following the buffalo, and it's definitely the case because they follow them up until the water. And then an unsuspecting male impala got caught by those 2 lionesses that you see on the left of the screen. One's busy eating the head and not sharing with anybody else. But some of these lions are very interested in the hyenas that are hanging around. Eternal enemies, they call them. But the pride is, there it goes. He's got something. What did you get? Who is that? It's a hyena. Legging it across the damn wall with some scraps. Don't forget, everybody, we are calling to action. Some videos of solace, how it is you are finding your solace in nature during these difficult times. Horizontal videos of where you've been, what you've been doing, talking about the moments or the places or the stream, the ducklings, the view, whatever it is you might have been doing over these last months to maintain a peace of mind. Send them through to #WildEarth on Twitter, WildEarth Live on Facebook, and WildEarth Official on Instagram. We'll be putting those videos together for everybody to enjoy and to laugh a little bit. Hyena is on the damn wall again, running back. I wonder which hyena that is now. Can't tell from this distance. JC, what a good start. You never know what you're going to find out and about. One of the landowners, because we were tracking the buffalo, and he said he's got some lion tracks coming in from Manuleti, but he's not sure how fresh they are. I said, I'll just see where these buffalo go and I'll come give you a hand. And then he said, I found the lions. So we made a joke on the radio that I'm guessing those tracks were pretty fresh. And indeed, they were very fresh. As we know. Look at that. Now, hyenas will only go as close to the lions as they feel comfortable doing so. The lions, all they want to do is catch them. They just want to catch them. They've got lions all over the place looking at those hyenas from a distance with disdain. Even bottom left now, you'll see two lionesses are actually a little bit more down and left. Lioness is actually starting to stalk the hyena from a distance. Sorry, we can't go any closer than we are right now, but we were struggling with signal right there where the hyena was. So now we find ourselves in a nice open area with a long distance lens. Adrian, that's a very good question. Now, predators will catch other predators and kill them due to the competitive sort of nature between them. They don't necessarily intend to eat them, but once the killing starts, often feeding on the animal is just a byproduct. They don't kill them to eat them, they kill them because they are competition. But quite often they will eat them afterwards. It all depends on the day. It's the same as with other predators. Sometimes you'll find a leopard actually eat cheetah and eat wild dogs, same as lion. Sometimes they won't. Sometimes they'll just kill them and leave them there. So it's really difficult to say on the day what will happen. But the intention of these lions, the one is stalking now on the bottom left again. Now, intention is everything, everybody. Now, if a lion starts doing that to you, the intention is clear. Now, 'cause, 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 The hyenas are very wily and very quick. They're often able to get away easily. And I've always found here in the Sabi Sands, the hyenas have got no confidence when it comes to the lions. The lions here just have no respect for the hyenas, and they chase them whenever they get the chance. Bearing in mind, everybody, the hyenas are a huge threat to the lions as well, not necessarily to a pride like this, but to their cubs most certainly. We all saw what happened with Shadulu a little while ago with hyenas. And vice versa. Lions will kill hyena and their cubs whenever the opportunity presents itself. I suppose you could say they're bold. They're quite cheeky. They just know that they're a little bit quicker over the long distance. And this is how their tenacity, it's how they survive, eking out scraps from predators. But they know they're playing a very, very interesting game. There's a sort of distance that they'll be willing to come towards the lions, but you can see he's not really trying to get. See, just in the foreground of that hyena, there's the two lionesses in the grass, and one's still busy eating an impala skull. There's not much to be left, not much left behind, so the hyenas really are chancing their luck for some tidbits. But it is the way, and I wouldn't be surprised if one of these lionesses has enough and charges him in a moment. Andy reckons this is tense. Oh, Andy, I mean, there's a bit of a standoff here, but there's really not too much going on. It's really tense when, what I think happened last night, or the night before, that Shimungwe female that we saw with her little cub, they made a kill somewhere in this area, and the hyenas stole it from her. That would have been tense, because the guys found the hyenas full and cackling and full of noise and covered in blood. That would have been tense. One lioness against a group of hyena. That leads to huge amounts of confidence. The confidence shifts. But this is a pride of 14 lions. There's just really no chance of these hyenas getting any access to whatever there is. They will come and clean up the mess afterwards, after the dinner party's been had. You can see how excited they are. Their tail up in the air. They know that there's things going. Oh, you've got a leg. Where did you get that from? Goodness me. Oh, you sold your dummy there, Theo. Hyena sidestepped. So the hyenas are now excited. Their tails are up. Okay. It doesn't quite know what there's three of them now. Doesn't quite know what to do with it. Hello. Popping heads over the wall. There was a pretty decent grown male impala by the horns. So possibly the leg bone that hyena was running off with there was just a bit too ossified and too strong for the lions to have fully chewed. Oh, he's going to go. Is that a young boy? Who's that? Yeah, got a bit of a belly. She's had enough. She's going to sneak up on it now. Try and cut them off on the damn wall and show them who's boss. Here we go. Watch out, everybody. The hyena's just above the lip there. A little bit more on the right, you'll see a hyena feeding. It's between those two trees. Now, the hyena is aware. It's aware, but doesn't mean the lion won't try. Look at the stalk in motion. And the other hyenas won't warn her. As soon as that hyena spots that lion, it will bolt. But I don't think it's spotted it yet. Oopsie. There we go. That's what you get. Drop and run. Now they know they're quicker over a distance. And if they can keep 20, 30 meters between them, they should be okay. Lions are good sprinters, but hyenas do have some acceleration to them. And this is a battle that's gone on for eons, everybody. And the tables can shift. Like I said, when the hyenas outnumber the lions, it becomes a very different story. I once saw a big male lion fending off 30-odd hyena. I wouldn't say it was effortless, but the hyena were very reluctant to get too close. He was just turning in circles and growling and snarling and swatting. And none of them were really brave enough to go in. Not like wild dogs who coordinate their movement. Not that wild dogs would have any effort or attempt to mess with lions, but wild dogs coordinate their assaults. Whereas hyena, there's an enormous amount of selfishness in amongst them. As we saw last year or whenever it was with the wild dogs and hyenas at Chitwa, when wild dogs killed a baby waterbuck. I don't know if you remember. And Saka kept going in, chasing the dogs off. And then as he got chased off by the dogs, another hyena would come in to try and steal what he wasn't able to get. If they just banded together as a team, they would have outcompeted those dogs. But the dogs definitely won on that day.
My name is Moritz, and I come to you live every day from Tswalu Kalahari here in South Africa. My favorite thing is probably the predators. And as you can see, we're looking at some of them right now. These are the kings of the Kalahari. Spending time with the cats, it's just a privilege. And I love their behavior. You know, the more that you look at them, just the power and the sheer beauty and elegance of them.
Catch up with the guides daily here on WildEarth. For the month of January 2021, we are offering a chance to win a unique WildEarth expedition to the magnificent Tswalu Kalahari. From the ancient Kortai's Koranenberg Mountains to the southern Kalahari's red sand dunes, Tswalu offers what travelers crave most: space and time. The winner will explore this landscape in a vehicle, on foot, or on horseback, with a chance to go behind the scenes with WildEarth and of course meet the meerkats. The prize includes a 3-night stay for you and a friend at the luxury Motse Lodge, including flights from either Johannesburg or Cape Town. Open to all WildEarth explorers who have signed up before the end of January 2021. Terms and conditions apply.
We have a baby pangolin, a baby pangolin. This is off the charts. This animal is about from your fingertips to your elbow. That's the total length of this animal. This is unreal. This is unreal. This is unreal. This is like now my 4th Christmas in a week. We should do this more often.
Tune into WildEarth every single day. It's in your nature.
Welcome back to Phinda, everybody. Where now, quite interestingly, those cheetah have stopped. They were walking with some serious intent towards this vicinity where those impala were. Just a herd of zebra, that we've got here in front of us, with one smallish foal, or two of them in fact. But it is now quite a bit warmer than when I said 5:30. The temperature was starting to rise. It is extremely hot now already. Yeah, those cheetah that we could see sitting up are now lying down, which to me tells me that they're not that interested in hunting the zebra, or at least the foals. But I think that would be a case of the hunter becoming, maybe not the hunted, but certainly the chased by zebra if they were to attempt to catch this young zebra foal in front of us. You can only just see the head of one of the cheetah on the right. In fact, they're close to that lala palm are two of them that are now sitting down very close to that lala palm in the shade of it, so quite well hidden there. Zebra haven't sounded the alarm just yet, so I don't think they are aware that there are 5 cheetah in the vicinity. But they do keep looking there, and that's maybe because there's another vehicle that's just moved around to where the cheetah are to see what that vehicle's up to. But no, yeah, all the adults are looking at that, in that direction, and zebra really, really good eyesight. All 3 of their senses are actually really good, so I wouldn't be surprised if they are now aware, and if they are, they'd maybe walk up to those cheetah and chase those cheetah away. Now one of them is on the right-hand side sitting up, the cheetah on the very far right-hand side sitting up. But with those cheetah on the left standing in the shade, they are really well camouflaged, as opposed to the one that's sitting out now in the sun, being backlit by the morning sun that we've got this morning. The ones in the shade are actually surprisingly well concealed, sitting up in the shade. Just really the silhouettes of them that you can see from here. But these zebra know something's not right. Very unsettled, and quite a few adults between the cheetah and the younger foals. The foal on the very far right hand side, significantly smaller than that one on the left. But yeah, these zebra now know they're there, and slowly but surely creeping up to them, and I wouldn't be surprised if they do end up running after the cheetah and chasing them away. I no longer see those impala that were around earlier, which would offer a better opportunity for these cheetah to hunt this morning. I think with where these zebra are going, those cheetah are definitely in the firing line. I'm not going to go anywhere, just in case someone does decide to chase someone. I wouldn't want that to be my influence, so we'll just sit here and see what happens. Interesting to see that zebra that on the very far left had the confidence to go on its own, but because the rest didn't follow, he's happier to stick with the rest of the herd. That one now literally walking directly towards those cheetah. Not sure if you're able to hear that very liquid bird call in the background. That's that of a Birchall's cuckoo that you hear calling. And I know yesterday I mentioned the black cuckoo being out here. If this tropical storm that's making its way from Madagascar in the Mozambican Channel as we speak does arrive with the promised rain that's expected. This area that we're in now, probably wouldn't be able to park here if we got the rain that is expected. This entire floodplain would be full of water, and that's when we got a really good chance of seeing the black kukul out here, which is a really special bird. But there you hear its cousin, the Birchall's kukul, calling in the background. Maybe now that these zebra are slowly walking one by one past these cheetah, you might find if there's a bit of a gap between an adult and one of the youngsters, that's when they'd look to chase. But now you've got 3 adults that have walked further left, and then the ones with the foals are off to the right-hand side. So now they all are off to the right-hand side. Sometimes you might see the cheetah chase the zebra, and then the zebra end up chasing the cheetah, but I'm not too sure that's going to happen this morning, although that... Yeah, I'm just going to sit it out and wait and see what happens. Yeah, but we're going to send you off to Tswalu.
Good morning, guys. Have a look at how cool this is. So, this is not an often sighting. Vegetarian lion. I'm just joking, they're not vegetarian, they just play. But this is incredible to see how this lion is. I don't know exactly what she's doing. Well, I know she's chewing on the tree, but I don't know why. Could be that there's maybe a squirrel, a bird's nest or something like that. We do have the squirrels here, but they're ground living. So it's not, or she's got something stuck in her teeth and she's trying to get that out or something like that. But it's definitely bothering her. So yeah, guys, we've got in total six lions here. 4 lioness and then 2 young boys. She's quite upset with that camel thorn though. This is pretty cool. What a way to start the morning. And so yeah, you'll see the rest of the pride is just here around us. By the way, guys, my name is Moritz. Behind the camera we've got Craig. And yeah, I mean, lions all over the show. They've been contact calling a little bit here and there. And there seems to be, by the looks of it, because they're all youngsters, it's difficult to really say, but it seems to be like maybe members of the Southern Pride. We initially thought it was the Northern Pride, but these males look very much like the Southern Pride boys. This one's just picked up on something interesting behind us. Don't know exactly what. See that female, she's paying very close attention to whatever's going on. Apparently there's one of the other vehicles following up on a male lion's tracks that's heading this way, so it could be that they're a little skittish of him at the moment, or looking to meet up with him. It's difficult to really say at this point. The females won't mind having the male around too much, but the young boys, they're definitely not going to want the big boy too close to them. He's not liking them anymore at the moment. But yeah, this is epic. Having the sunrise and lions, and it's just crazy. Errol, you're absolutely right. This is a lovely scene. Now, the one female lion is looking to come down the tree, and the others decided, no, but we're gonna then start playing with you guys. I'm gonna quickly just go around and see if we can get a better shot of them like that, because this is quite cool. Just tell me when, Craig. More. let me go around completely. Like that. There we go. See, everyone's now interested in what the others were seeing. Yeah, this must be the Southern Pride guys. That female there, there's a female there by the vehicle also showing a lot of interest in the vehicle itself also, and that's typical of them. Well, this is just crazy. Let's see if she wants to maybe jump into the other branches. Oops, as you can see, not the most elegant of animals when it comes to being in the trees. The lions are definitely not built for going up and down the trees too much. However, they do occasionally do so. Ipsa giving us a little look. I wonder how high she's going to go. But yeah, guys, for the lions, going up the trees is relatively comfortable. Coming down, they don't always have that, elegance or poise that a leopard has, because they don't have that locking mechanism in their wrists, which allows them to come down a tree facing forward. If the tree is at an angle like this one, it's a little bit easier. But when I'll move around now again. When they come down a tree which has a relatively vertical trunk, it becomes very difficult for them. Then they have to climb down like we climb down a ladder, and that's not always so elegant. I can hear one of the males calling far in the north also. Ja, skilpadpan. Or skilpadpan. Seems like most of the lions are going to head towards the waterhole. I think we might actually head around that way now as well. Go and see what all of them are up to. This female is not going to want to stay in the tree while the rest is going that way. Let's go there and see if they want to show us some drinking behavior or something like that. But yeah, this is very cool. Always nice when the animals work with you. See now, here you can see one of these young boys now walking. See, they're about maybe 2.5 years old at the moment. So not the oldest individuals, but they have been kicked out of the main pride now because the males, well, the females have new cubs now, and the males definitely don't like having competition, even though they're much smaller still than the dominant males at the moment. Let's just do this. You can already start seeing it's difficult now because the light's a little on and off when they go through the shade and so on. But if you look at the mohawk on top of the mane, you can already start seeing that darker coloration which they have on their mane, which will then turn into the black-maned male lions one day when they're the big boys. So when they go static again, we'll zoom in on the manes and you'll see what I mean about that. Let's just see. Let's go around like this. So yeah, guys, we're going to see if they want to go and have a drink. For the meantime, we're going to just reposition. If there's anything that happens, we'll let you know, okay?
Welcome back to Buffelshoek, Sydney's Dam, everybody, where the hyenas have still been sort of moving towards that last remains of the kill, and the rest of the lions are slowly but surely moving away back towards us and towards the shade. There's been one male impala who's sort of popped his head out of the bushes a few times. And he made a few alarm calls and then realized he was all on his own. He's probably looking over towards his fallen comrade and thinking, I told you not to go for a drink on a Thursday. Here is one of the old lionesses of the Talamati Pride. We often confuse with the purple eye that we have in the Nkuhuma Pride. He's also got an injured eye. This is the one that was feeding on the impala skull when we arrived back. She's going to walk behind our car. I do apologize. Maybe we can get a footage of this boy over here. There, he's going to walk in front of us now, which is... Also, we don't have any males yet in the Nkuhuma Pride of this size. 2.5-year-old, 3-year-old male, 2.5 or so. 2.5. You can see the main development coming up on the neck there, on the chest. I'm actually really looking forward to seeing the Nkuhuma Pride, to see what the little ones are looking like. Going to be a head rub in a moment. You can just see it coming. The intention is to move over towards the shade of the nearby bushes because, well, it's getting rather warm. So let me quiet for a moment and maybe you'll all be able to hear a bird that I haven't been able to show you yet on drive. You can hear the zitting cisticula.
Guys, quickly have a look at how cool that reflection is. I mean, if it wasn't for the ripples being created by the lion drinking itself, that would be the perfect mirror image. But I mean, just to have it like that is incredible. So they have come down to the water now. Most of them are just lying at the water's edge. But there's 2 individuals drinking. A third one on her way. She's going to come into the screen just now. There we go. This is so cool. Absolutely stunning. There we go. Oh, this is amazing. So yeah, guys, confirmed now. Well, 99% confirmed. It is the members of the Southern Pride. Those boys are definitely the Southern Pride members. And these 4 females. It seems like there's one adult though. Maybe the female that's got the small cubs. I'm just trying to see quickly if I can see mammary glands. No, you know what? I'm wrong. These are all the young females in the pride. So there's a very small one, or very young one, maybe about 2 years old, and then the 3 slightly older youngsters. The ones that are about maybe 3.5 years old now. So they've been operating by themselves for quite some time, maybe the past, I want to say 6 months already, and hunting pretty successfully and so on. But these other 3 youngsters, the 2 boys and then the 1 young female, they've only been kicked out now over the last, I want to say 3 months, after the second litter of cubs were born. I do believe they might be maybe that litter's mom is their mom as well. So that's possibly why they got pushed out. Just because she doesn't want them around anymore. With them being younger, they're going to play a little harder or be more cub-like when it comes to playing with the little ones, and they might be a little harsh on them. can hear the one giving a call there, but it's more a complaint than anything else. But it's just stunning to have them at the water's edge like this early in the morning. There's a couple of very upset blacksmith lapwings as well. And a Hadida ibis. And this is so cool. And you know, this could be the potential, or it could have the potential for a new pride forming, especially if these four females stick together like they are doing right now. It would be great if there's another piece of Tswalu being claimed up by a different pride. Look at they were getting a little irritated by the bird, the Hadida. So the one female decided she's going to go and chase it off. He was making a lot of noise though. I haven't heard that. Male calling again in the north. Samir, you're absolutely right. It is a beautiful, beautiful sighting. And in a beautiful spot as well, definitely. We're very lucky. And we're very happy, you know, with this particular waterhole attracts quite a lot of the lions' attention, or they spend quite a bit of time at it. So not necessarily when we're around, but we always find tracks here coming in and going out and so on. So this is a normal, well, a starting point for us when we are looking for the lions to see if they are around and moving, you know, in which direction they're moving and so on. Yeah, guys, I think we're going to stick with them for a little while and see what happens. See if they want to get active.
Welcome back, everybody. Well, our lions are all up and moving towards the shade. A hyena by the name of Hart came around a moment ago, and I think she decided maybe no, it's not a good place to hang out. Lions are all too well scattered through the vegetation. We're even finding it hard to know where they all are at the moment. But just as you left us, one young male who's on his way down, he was the last one with the skull of the impala. He just chased a hyena over the dam wall. He's a young boy. Probably not the first time, and it will not be the last time. He shows disdain for his competitor. He's trying to avoid the muddy area. He's going to come and join the rest of the pride. I think majority of them have moved over towards our right-hand side. They're all disappearing into the shade. The sun today, the UV index is going to be very high. We can already feel it through my shirt. There we go. There's another lion. If you see what I mean, how they're scattered throughout this open grassland. The grass is very long, and the lions are gone. So we're going to try reposition, but I'm not sure if we're going to have signal if we move. So we're going to try and get you another view of the lions, but it seems like they're all headed to the shade, and I think a shady spot is where we need to be as well. But let's see where they all end up.
Unfortunately, we had a little tech issue at Ngala, but we're still with the hyenas. The adults have all left now, so Ntima's left, Ndebele's left. We just got the little ones that are, you can see, still milling about. Corky's one's gone inside the den, and we left with Ribbons 2. I think it's Ribbons 2. And they've grown so much since I was last year. The last time I was at the den and saw them out was in December. And it's amazing. They've almost doubled in size since then, it feels like. It's not really the case, but it feels like they've doubled in size. And they're just as naughty as, well, most hyena cubs are at den sites. So curious about anything and everything. They come and always investigate whatever they can. They come and see the vehicle. There's so many cables now that are hanging off of Wendy and Rusty from these guys. I keep wondering why we're seeing cables hanging down, and then I remember we have the hyena den, and it was the exact same thing in the Mara. They're always underneath the cars and around, and you've got to try and kind of persuade them not to, which is always easier said than done. It's not a easy thing to, sorry guys, that's my aerial for my radio, just to make sure it works. Sorry, I'm poor, I'll get rid of that for you. It's easier said than done. Sometimes when you're getting attacked from all sides by mischievous little ones, it can really make life quite tricky in terms of being able to kind of see where everybody is. Sometimes you get one that comes from the one side and another one from the other side, and as much as you try and kind of fend them off, their curiosity and their intelligence and their ability to kind of problem solve means that they like to try and investigate and to see and to try and work out a way that they can kind of get to where they want to and go and test all the things that they want to without you really noticing that they're there, which is pretty interesting. So it's always fun watching hyenas at a den, and they really do, well, den sites particularly, really do break the stigmas that hyenas often have. A lot of people have a very soft spot for hyenas after they've visited den sites because they start to understand the social complexities of the clan. They understand the mothering instincts. They understand that the little ones, just like any other little animal, are joyful, cute little things. And so it's not about this horrible hardcore animal that just eats everything and wants to kill everything and is just disgusting and ugly. That's not the case at all. They are incredibly cute, and like I say, their intelligence shines through when they're at the den sites. So it's good to spend time here, and like I say, I'm sure a lot of people that are watching this, their whole perception, should I say, of hyenas has completely changed due to the fact that, we've spent quite a lot of time, and when I say we, I use that very loosely because myself and Steve and James even have spent so little time at the den. The girls generally are wanting to be here every day, and which is great. I mean, it's fine. Everybody's got that animal that they enjoy spending time with. And it's kind of been from Jamie a few years ago now through to Lauren and Trish. All three of them loved spending time at the dens, and so they've kind of gotten to know the hyenas that much more. It's much like myself with finding leopards. It's what drives me out here, and so you often gravitate towards what you enjoy most. The nice thing is that we've constantly kind of grown to understand and know these guys a lot more, which has really, really been good. What are you doing? I think they're starting to settle down a little bit for the day. It's starting to get very hot now. You can see they're a little bit more wary of what's going on now that all the adults have left as well. Stuck in bed, like most animals. How far they travel and how big their territories are is all generally to do with density of others. Most animals will expand their territories as far as they possibly can, because the bigger the territory, the more access they have to den sites, resources of food and water, and so that's really dependent on the areas that they're in, and how dense the population is of competition. So when I say, population, I'm talking about just hyenas themselves. And then what is the food source availability like in that area? Those will all dictate what drives hyenas and how big or small their territories may be. In an area like this, given the density that we do have, we have a very large density of hyenas within the Sabi sands. You're looking at probably, I would say, the Djuma clan must be roaming about 6,000 to 8,000 hectares, somewhere there, maybe a little bit more. So it's not as, 16,000 acres, it's not that big. Some spotted hyenas that are in the Kalahari Desert you probably find are 10 times that amount, because there's no competition, and the resources are slim compared to here. So it really just depends. But it looks like that might be it for the morning at the den. Those little ones have ducked down. Like I say, all the adults are gone. There's no one really around anymore, which is not surprising. It's like I say, when it gets hot like this, the little ones go inside and the adults try and seek shade in order just to lie down. If we had some cloud cover this morning, you might find that they would be here a little bit more. All right, we're going to carry on. I think we'll go see what else we can find. Maybe we'll get some Ellies swimming, given how warm it is. In the meantime, let's send you across to Steve and the lions, who I'm sure are starting to settle as well.
Thank you and welcome back to us on Buffelshoek, where one hyena went into the spot where the lions were feeding. It picked up the skull and ran off across the dam wall and away with his prize. Here we've got most of the lions are busy sort of lying up in the shade. Here we do have 3 further down by the water that are still, some of the youngsters are still quite interested in what the hyenas are doing, although they're on the other side of the water from them now. There's one lone hyena that we're not going to look at the moment, who's walked off in the distance, has been sniffing and smelling to see if there's anything he can pick up on. Disappointment is real. Not even a bone for him to pick up on, or her. Shame. So, not last segment, the segment before, I mentioned a bird. I'm just going to play it for you because you might not have heard it, but it's a bird I haven't been able to show you guys before on the show. So have a listen. Called the zitting cysticula, and the behavior when they're flying is they make the noise that you're about to hear in my hat. So as they fly and they dip, they do the zit, 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 and someone's decided to call them zitting. He's calling now in response. I don't know if you're going to get him. He's a very small bird. Pay attention if Theo can get it. Let's see if he's got some skills. That is a really difficult thing to capture. He's a tiny little bird. He responded to my call. He's going, what on earth are all of these lions doing in my territory? Only 11 centimeters, 9 grams. They're monogamous. They make a unique vertical pear-shaped bottle nest with a top entrance. And they're very common, although they are found in grasslands, crop fields, edges of airfields. I haven't had one on Djuma before. Wonder if Tristan has. So just over the road in Buffelshoek, where the landscape is slightly different, a little bit more open, you have a bird species occurring. There's plenty of places up in Buffelshoek that are much more open. So occurring in open grasslands, usually where the grass is less than 1 meter tall. It usually gets seasonally flooded. So for wetlands, cultivated croplands, including wheat fields, pastures, lucerne, especially where it is irrigated in semi-arid and arid regions. one of those little LBJs that if you saw, you wouldn't be able to identify very easily. But the wonderful thing about many of these LBJs, those of you who might be tuning into the first time hearing me say the words LBJ, meaning little brown jobs. It's a term given to the little brown birds that people encounter that they aren't able to identify. But in the breeding season, it's much easier to identify them because of their calls. Their calls are very, very easy to discern. And the zitting testicular is one of those ones. So those of you who know me, you know I like to do a spot of birding while we're in cat sightings. Kurt, you want to know how often lions hunt? They hunt more regularly than we think. Their success ratio, though, is very low. It's only about 20%. 20% leopards, lions, 20%. So they will hunt actually more regularly than you think, but during the day, the heat of the day, you won't see them doing much. But some days they can hunt more than other days. Some days their first attempt can be successful. Some days they can go for days with many attempted hunts and unsuccessful. Often there are many factors involved. Wind makes hunting a much more successful for predators. Adequate cover in the form of long grass like this, like in the Masai Mara, can make hunting much, much better. Experience of the pride and the hunters. When there's lots of youngsters in the pride, you often have them really messing around and behaving a little bit too a little bit too much, so jumping around and springing up and just giving away the element of surprise. And so definitely a pride is generally a little bit better at hunting than a lioness on her own, but then a pride with lots of inexperienced hunters often has a lot of failure until the youngsters eventually realize, okay, I'm just going to sit here and make no noise and hopefully I'll get some food. That one was stalking a hyena again. That's decided that it's got a little bit too close for comfort. Everything's trying to catch them today. And off they go. But there was definitely more than one impala eaten because the pride was spread all over the place. And they definitely had, well, a few of them have got little paunchy bellies, which means there's more than one impala has gone in there. So not saying that they all fed right here around this watering hole, but through the night it's possible that they've caught other animals. Enough to sustain them for now, but they are not full by any means. But I think the activity for the day is going to now revert to one like what's happening here in the shade, one of a little bit of grooming and loving and forgiveness for whatever might have taken place in our feeding frenzies, and nothing like a good head and ear lick to tell those you love you are sorry. Well, everybody, we're going to stay here with our lions, see what else they get up to. Meantime, I'll send you over to andBeyond, Phinda.
Welcome back to Phinda, everybody. We've come to a watering hole that I don't think I've ever filmed at here on Phinda, on the very far southeastern part of this reserve, to a spot where I thought those zebra that we were watching earlier would come and drink at some stage this morning. They might still come here, but here we've got two crocodiles. One's just submerged itself and the one on the left hand side was out the water, and I wonder if one of these is not the culprits of that video that you might have seen doing the rounds on social media of the cheetah and the crocodile. That said watering hole has dried up where that incident took place, but the one on the left out the water is, or when it was out the water when we got here, was massive, and I wouldn't be surprised if it is the same one. But but just lying in wait and anticipation for things like the zebra or wildebeest, or even at the other side of the watering hole, there's Ngala that are around here. And they wait in spots where hippos get in and out of the water quite regularly. There's like those little gullies. They'll just sit and wait there patiently for things to come their way. These crocodiles, very eerie looking creatures of the water. A couple of water thickneys dotted around the water as well that keep calling. An unmistakable sound for those of you who are sitting at home close to golf courses and the likes. You often hear them calling in the evenings. A turtle dove that's now come down to drink as well. There's two Ngala, but otherwise relatively quiet. Now that the wind is starting to pick up a little bit more, things might venture back into the woodlands where it's a little bit more sheltered from the wind, and this temperature that just keeps climbing this morning is going to force things to head into areas that are a little bit more sheltered, perhaps drainage lines and spots like this that are a little bit lower down with trees that provide a decent amount of shelter from the sun. Only asking how long crocodiles get. This particular chap that we are looking at here in the water is maybe around 2.5-3 meters. But in East Africa, you see those crocodiles of the Mara River, which are massive. I can imagine, reach maybe 4 or 5 meters at most, maybe a little bit more. And that being said, these ones disappear. But Lainey, they do get extremely long. There's a photo, I think, that Marlon du Toit took of a crocodile with looked like an adult zebra's head in its mouth. It was massive. That must have been well over 4 meters long, that crocodile. But disappearing every so often underneath the water and then re-emerging, just their nostrils and their eyes. Lying in wait and anticipation for something to come their way. Looking back over my shoulder, I don't see those zebra that we were with anymore. So maybe just taking their time to get down here. But the thickneys all having some water there on the left-hand side. You can see them dipping their bills into the water and coming back up. Quite busy on the far side as well with all those weavers, lesser moss weavers that are all building their nests over the water. Might just leave these crocodiles in peace and see what else we can find this morning before it warms up too much.
I've seen something I've never seen here before. Look at these cubs. One is crossing the river. It's being washed away, unfortunately, but I'm sure the mother is going to save her. Look at that. How beautiful. Look at that. One crossing, 2 to go. How cool is this?
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily.
This is Rusty. He's my favorite vehicle and we've been through all the good times here in the bush. Now, if you feel a connection to Djuma Game Reserve like I do, then we have a fantastic opportunity for you. You can have your name engraved on a brushed metal plaque just like this one, and we will attach it to Rusty so you can always be with us on safari in spirit. We will even send you a digital photograph once your plaque is mounted on Rusty. Spaces are limited, so grab your spot now.
Do you dream of traveling to a far-flung wilderness location where life continues as normal? A place where you can escape to nature and breathe. If you become a WildEarth explorer, then this could soon become a reality. Subscribe today and stand a chance to win regular travel prizes. WildEarth Explorers, it's in your nature. Have you been watching WildEarth and dreamt of being right there on safari with one of the guides? Well, now you can. WildEarth is offering you a chance to buy a ticket to dream. You or a friend can hop on board a live WildEarth show and join our guide on safari. The ticket is redeemable at any of our locations, anytime in the future. Only a limited number of tickets are available, so don't wait. Get your ticket now and start dreaming. Terms and conditions apply.
Copy that. So yeah guys, but most of the activity has now gone down. You can see all of them baking in the sun now nicely. They were showing some interest in a pair of blacksmith lapwings chasing them around the water's edge. Well, one of them did for a little bit. And that male that was vocalizing in the north called again, and these guys responded a little bit. But it is time to become a little lazy now. I do think maybe if there's something that comes towards the water or towards there where they were lying initially, you might find them showing a little bit of interest. But, you know, with them vocalizing Nana or earlier, I don't think there's going to be much activity as far as herbivores is concerned around this waterhole for a little bit. These guys might actually, just as the sun comes out and warms up their bodies, they might move towards a shady spot. But for the time being, they are now just relaxing. And yeah, very good to see that, you know, they all sticking together like this. The two boys might be pushed out initially, eventually and anyway, because if these females do form a new pride, the other big boys are definitely going to be very much interested in them. So, unfortunately, it is at that point where these young males are now going to have to go off and lead a nomadic life. Carl, so established lion prides, we've got two, the northern and the southern pride, and then these guys might form a third one. We'll have to see what the future holds for these four females. They might even join back up with the southern pride again and form a slightly larger one that we have than what we currently have. The southern pride currently is only 3 adult females, and then actually these 4 females as well. So it would be ideal for the 7 of them to actually stick together. You know, hunting and all of those things would be much easier. Having help from 6 other individuals as the leading huntress leads the pride. But it's difficult to say what is going to happen. You know, the fact that they're spending so much time by themselves, only linking up with those females every now and again, could potentially mean that they are splintering off. So yeah, currently only the 2 established prides, and lots of promises about a third pride forming, even a fourth maybe if the sub-adults from the northern pride also splits away and does their own thing. So we'll have to see. There's some exciting times lying ahead, especially with all the cubs also being around, the baby ones now, not these ones. The dynamics might be an interesting thing to keep an eye on now over the next, let's say, a year or so. So we'll have to see. You know, for a pride of lioness to be 7, look at this one, it's going to play. If she continued cleaning herself, I think she would have gotten tackled. But anyway, for a pride of lioness to be up to 7 individuals, it's actually just a good size to have enough hands to help with the hunting, but not to be too many to have to hunt too frequently or too large animals or so. So that will be a very good option for them. Beautiful, those ripples that form, eh? Just stunning. Leash, yeah, absolutely. It is beautiful and green, especially around the waterhole, but actually everywhere at the moment. But around the waterhole, it's just a little bit more vibrant. You know, there's much more moisture available. So with that being the case, you'll find all of these very bright green shrubs and grasses, not so much, but shrubs growing around the water, which makes the color just pop. Very, very beautiful. Also nice that the vegetation is a little lower around the waterhole so that you can actually see the lions at the moment. I mean, if these guys were lying down in the long grass, you'd not be able to see them at this point of the year. So, very lucky to have them in this particular spot. That one just smelling now, where the other one was urinating earlier. You might see her pulling her face funny. We'll have to see. Not necessarily always the case. But typically when they smell the urine of another lion, you'll find them doing that strange face, you know, pulling up their upper lip, we call it the phlegm grimace, just to expose the Jacobson's organ, which is situated underneath the upper lip, so that they can take up all the chemical messages that they need to know about the other individual. You will find it, however, with males more often, just because they are much more set on picking up the chemical messages between, you know, them and females and them and other males and all of those things, you know. However, it doesn't mean that the females don't do it, they just don't do it as much. Nice and lazy. Yeah, I think what we're going to do, guys, the other vehicle went to have a look to see if they can find that male that's vocalizing. But just before these lions were found, we had some tracks for the females with the cubs going in the different direction. So there was a quick play there. So we might actually go and see if they're not up to something at the moment, and then maybe come back a little later on, see what these guys are doing. But for the meantime, we're going to send you over to Phinda, okay?
Welcome back to Phinda, everybody. Where, again, we spoke about that herd of wildebeest being not too far from those cheetah. A little bit further away from where we left them in those black cotton soils, that have quite a nice herd of wildebeest actually, with quite a few youngsters out in the open now. We saw a couple of them suckling, and quite interesting to see the youngster actually going down on its knees to suckle from its mother. And you might hear grunts and moans and groans from them as they try and find their respective from their respective parent. Not sure why there's no audio. Not sure if that's a little bit better. No problem. Just watching the youngsters also all with their heads down. If they get distracted and separated from their mothers, you might hear them calling them, but they you can see are never too far away from them. All now different shades of that lighter sort of tawny colour. Some slightly older. There was one that we could see a little bit of its umbilical cord now. All very new to these surroundings, this lot. Would have been born now in the last month or so. And yeah, out on the floodplain you can almost always guarantee big herds like this. A couple of impala crashing through. On our right hand side, and I wonder now if those cheetah haven't moved, if those impala are running like that. They have to. I'm actually going to carry on. Just off to our right hand side. There's a bit of a commotion to see what's happening here. I think those cheetah might have moved. I don't know, maybe they saw an opportunity with those impala, that herd of impala that was now resting in the shade as well. So, heard one of the other guys where we left those cheetahs, so they could very well have gotten up.
You are back with us, everybody. I don't seem to be getting any comms on my radio. Theo just gave me the little signal. The pride is all now pretty much together in the shade, with our zitting cesticula still shouting overhead. We're probably going to do one more little bit with them and then move on as they start to get very inactive here in the shade. This will be them for the day, I'm almost certain. Here comes a boy. We need to go find some shade ourselves. The sun is starting to get rather warm as this lady. Let's quickly send you over to Phinda.
Welcome back, everybody. I was mistaken, though. So these cheetah have moved. And amongst this herd of wildebeest and zebra, there are a couple of foals and wildebeest calves. But the cheetah are sort of scattered all over the place. They're off to the right, runs one of them after a youngster. Out in the open in the distance. Might just have to get out to that open area and see if they haven't been successful. They are scattered everywhere, so like we were saying earlier, if they do chase things towards one another, we could very well be in luck here, or they could be successful. It's hard to say. There's a lot of chaos. It is starting to get really warm. Another one of those cheetahs just set off on the left-hand side. We should soon start to see them. They did set off in this direction, straight back to where we left them actually. I see one a little bit further behind us. Another one resting up here in the shade of a lala palm. But you might now hear them, because they are all separated from one another, contact calling, that very high-pitched whistle that they use to get in contact with one another. For those that have been separated in the chase. I don't think a successful morning for them, sadly. Everyone's now starting to sound the alarm on our left-hand side. So, yeah, these cheetahs sadly have not been successful.
Station Southeast, checks go.
Probably the perfect opportunity as well with those young wildebeest calves in the mix. Might just be worth me moving. I don't know if you've got a view of that one or the two further left, but just moving slightly further forward for you to get a view of them lying in the shade of that. There we are. That's a little bit better. Oh, there we go. Have a look at that. One bitten off a little bit more than it can chew, chasing an adult. But yeah, the rest of them, their body language, they're all down now. Those wildebeest keep coming back towards that cheetah chasing it. Let's have a look what happens here. Now it's got its head down and it's walking away. I think that's it. And here come the cavalry with the zebra in hot pursuit as well of this lot, and they will chase them all day. I think that's exactly what's going to happen now. Oh, no. Cheetah chase, but the zebra will come straight back and maybe even, like we've seen before, chase that cheetah. But this chap is on its own. Others are still in the shade of the palm tree. But if they do go to where you first started with us, with that other big herd of wildebeest, their odds might be a little bit better. There you can hear that high-pitched whistle. I'm going to keep quiet for a bit. Yeah, you can hear that very high-pitched whistle, and two of its siblings are just further off to the left. That's not a sound that I've heard before. In between the whistles, you can hear that other call, but it should now be able to see the other two. Here we are, reunited with some of its siblings. I'm not too sure where the other two have gone. They walked off further to the left of where this lot are, but the zebra are not giving them half a gap. Here comes another one of the zebra. Let's see what happens here. Full of confidence, the three of them, as they walk up to the cheetah. But as soon as another one makes a move towards them, this cheetah hightail it away. Wildebeest still going berserk in the background, sounding the alarm. And they won't stop until these cheetah are out of sight and out of mind completely. Still calling. The zebra have now come up around us to our left, so I wouldn't be surprised if you in a short while see them being chased a little bit more by the zebra, or the cheetah at least, being chased by the zebra. Now, in between them. See how they turn and bank and all face there. Somewhat of a feeble attempt. You saw how it tried to make itself bigger as well there, that young cheetah. Tried to make itself bigger just to get those zebra to leave it alone. You can almost guarantee that herd of wildebeest that we were with earlier would be a little bit suspicious of all this activity that they're hearing on the other side of this open area. Maybe keep glancing off to see what it is that's making a commotion. 1, 2, 3, 4. I count 4 of these cheetah now resting in the shade. You can see 3 of them in your picture. 1 of them a little bit further to the right, and the 5th can't be far from the 3 that you're looking at now. And it was just initially when we were sitting with those wildebeest, that impala that darted across that, was awfully suspicious, that led us to think that there was something else in amongst them and that herd of zebra. And I actually thought it was a different cheetah initially, because bit of a parade, a bit of a chase again. And then it stopped. But we're going to head off to Tristan and see what Tristan's got for us.
Well, as you can see, it's kind of been a crazy morning already. We've got Tandi's little one again. It's fairly easy to find him at the moment when you know where he's going to be roughly. It's pretty simple to find him. So hopefully you guys can hear me, but Tandi's cub is just kind of hanging around where he's been hanging around. Although he moved a little bit further south, he's now right up against the lodge, and looks like he's about to go into the camp itself. He was chasing a Ngala bull, which is we saw this bull crossing the road and him kind of behind it, but he's got no chance. A Ngala bull is way too big for him. You might see the kind of deck in the background. That's the last room of Chitwa. And Tandi, I've seen her drink out of this pool multiple times. In fact, Tamba was hidden under this very deck for a while. He wasn't born into this deck, but he was hidden under this one for quite some time. So this is a place that Tandi has used for many years. Even back in 2011, she used to come here and she used to hide Wabayiza in this exact spot as well. Around here. Since then, they've done quite a lot of work to try and kind of stop her from doing it, but every now and then she still gets her cubs in underneath, and you can see for these leopards, as much as these are it seems silly that there's these kind of lodges and there's leopards walking around, and it might seem crazy, but for them it's just part and parcel of the environment. They've gotten used to it. I think he's going to come chase these Egyptian geese. That's what I think he's going to do, because he's watching the Egyptian geese. That's what he's actually looking at. You can hear them. Unfortunately, they all just flew away. So he's got no chance. Would have been quite fun to watch him hunt them, to see if he could have gotten it right and actually gotten near them. What are you doing, Way? Come out of that area. If he does move from here, though, we won't be able to follow him. He's going to, like I say, once he goes into the lodge, I generally don't follow them at all. They go in there and we'll just let the guys know that it's all working around the lodge, that there's a leopard. Now, he, at his size, he could potentially be dangerous, but generally not. He'd be probably far more nervous of people than we would be of him. But there he goes. He's going to go and take a chill on the deck. Maybe he'll jump on the lounger and have a drink out of the pool. I remember once we had him Vula with a kill on one of these decks, and he used to just sit on the lounger all day and have a good nap. It was his favorite thing to do. Anyway, we'll see where he goes. Maybe he'll come back down and towards the dam. hopefully we'll have a bit of luck.
Welcome back to Buffelshoek, and welcome back to a very flat pride of lions that we are going to be leaving shortly because the sun is fierce, as they've all shown you. That one over there in the top left is really enjoying the heat at the moment. I'm sure it's going to move and melt into the thickets in a moment. And their activity has dwindled to just a little bit of breathing. That's all you would be able to tell, that these lions are still alive. And you can see the one on the left there, still empty belly. It got to, well, that one there's got a semi-empty belly, the one below it now. And below it, that one's got empty belly, and the one on the left, empty belly. So when they're caught in impala, it's obvious that the ones that were delayed got there late and didn't get a meal, and so they went hungry. But these lions feed regularly, everybody. Feed regularly. Just not always a meal for everybody. That's why they hunt large animals such as giraffe and buffalo, and it's why they were on the trail of the buffalo until probably one or two of them caught an impala, and that just slowed down the morning's activity. And I'm going to sleep out the day, spending it in the shade of this guarri thicket, in the long grass, almost invisible to the common observer. And who knows what might sneak down or come down to the watering hole for a drink. I'm sure the lions will be aware of it, and they'll be ready to move at a moment's notice to catch themselves a late brunch.
So I'm sitting in the Timavati riverbed with a very beautiful Makoti male leopard here at andBeyond in Ngala. He is having a thorough groom of himself at the moment, and we're just appreciating the detail on his coat at the moment and on that tongue. Have a look at all of those little barbs on his tongue. So he is actually incredibly close to where he was born at the moment, which is so exciting. It's made my entire year to see him back in the stretch of riverbed. He spent quite a few months here with his mother before she passed away, and with his brother as well, and you can see he's really enjoying this grooming session this morning in the shade. He has actually got a carcass in a tree close by, so he's nice and relaxed and doesn't need to go anywhere. But you can see he's using the opportunity to lick the coat to get any dirt out, and then also to chew with those front teeth and get any ticks that he might have. Oh, there he gets up, so you can see how close he is to the vehicle at the moment. He actually came over here and lay down next to the vehicle, and he's calling. So we're gonna have to move to keep up with him. Absolutely incredible. This has made my whole year seeing Makoti male again. And he's just casually walking on down the riverbed. You can see there's actually a rock face in front of me, and this rock face is where he grew up. This was one of his den sites with his mother and brother. He's sitting down in a little hole. Looks like he's urinating maybe. So he's been very active this morning. He keeps moving out of the sun, and every 5 minutes or so he's getting up and moving around. And he is just so beautiful. Done urinating, time to walk. Look at that coat as he walks into the sun and how it changes when he's going into the shade. He might just flop down when he finds a spot that he likes. So he doesn't need to go particularly far today because the carcass is close by. There's a lot of water sources around. We've had a lot of rain. And so this stretch of riverbed, it's literally home for him. And we're really, really hoping that he actually does decide to come back here permanently. He's heard something, listening very intently. You can actually see his eyelash, or a set of eyelashes there, sticking out in his silhouette. That is beautiful. Oh, down he goes. So it's actually so wonderful for us to see that he is still so nice and relaxed with us. And the fact that he actually came closer to us earlier was incredible. Nandi leopards usually live on their own. They're solitary animals. And so when they're hunting, they'll be hunting on their own. They're one of the most successful cats in the world because they are solitary. They can move very undetected, and they're really good at hunting. So for them, it's something that's more of a lifestyle. They're usually always on their own unless it's a mum with cubs, or maybe a mating pair when they'll only be there for a few days and then they separate again. So they learn to hunt from a young age, practicing on things like francolins, mongrels, and he actually made a plan. I don't know if you've heard the story, Nandi, but he had to make a plan pretty quickly. His mother died when he was 8 months old, and he discovered that vultures nest at the tops of trees and the nests are quite big. And so from a very young age he had to fend for himself. His brother would fend for himself as well. And he learned to climb to the tops of these trees and eat the vulture of the nests. And that's where he got the name. Makoti is the local Shangaan name for a vulture. And it became a habit of his. It was survival of the fittest, and he adapted. So I would think now he might be a little bit too big to get right to the tops of the trees where the vulture nests are. A bit too heavy, but maybe if it's a very big tree, he might still try. Be interested to know. Can you hear there's a lot of noises around us? There's actually no birds alarm calling or anything like that. We've just got the normal morning chorus of birds around us in this riverbed. It is starting to heat up quite nicely, but in the shade it's actually cool enough that myself and Sebastian are both wearing fleece jackets. So we know that there is some weather coming our way. And I think he's just feeling hot. You can see that stomach moving while he's breathing. He's feeling a bit hot because he's had quite a decent meal and hoisted the rest of that carcass up quite a tall tree, and hopefully the lions won't be able to steal it this time. You can see that belly is full and round. It's actually so exciting for us. It was the talk of camp that we have Makoti male back in the area where we know him so well. We actually also noticed earlier he's got a new fresh wound on one of his front paws. Walter, the natural lifespan of a leopard could range anywhere from 12 to about 16 years. And it would also depend male to female. Males tend to have a shorter lifespan because they are more fiercely territorial, and the males will fight each other over territories and females and kills. So the average would be between 12 and 16 years. Females would be more towards the 16 years. Very similar to lions. So the cats tend to have a very similar lifespan. Can you see the dove in the background? There is a dove walking over that he's just noticed, and I don't think the dove has noticed him. my goodness. That's comical. Look how close it is. He's ignoring it. It's not a food source for him. He's actually looking up onto the rock face. But I was almost ready to walk over his tail just now. Sit on something there on the cliff face. Keeps going back to it. You can see those eyes are looking upwards. Ears are moving, so he's listening. And I found it very interesting. Every now and then he's been contact calling, which I wouldn't expect because he's independent. He has been for over 2 years now. I wonder why he would be contact calling. Maybe he can smell a female leopard around. His aunt, the Ngala female, well, actually she's a aunt/half-sister. She has been around the area. You've seen her tracks, maybe he can smell her. But he does look nice and relaxed. DURELL, absolutely. Leopards ambush prey from trees. So there are quite a few videos that have gone viral of leopard trees and impalas walking underneath and the leopards dropping out of the tree and catching the impalas. It's not something that I have ever seen, but they certainly have been known to do it. I did see very incredible sighting with the Shitsalala young male, and he's a little bit smaller than Makoti male at the moment, and he was actually hunting impalas. They spotted him and they moved off. And so what he did was he noticed a squirrel in a bush willow tree, and he took a running start, went straight up this tree and followed the squirrel off the branches, flew out of this tree with the squirrel flying off in front of him. And the squirrel got away, but it was almost like it happened in slow motion. He took a running start, ran straight up the tree and off the other side straight after the squirrel. Definitely a first for me. And then he actually ended up going back into the tree and eating 3 fork-tailed drongo chicks out of their nest. So leopards are very, very versatile and they adapt very easily. And that's part of why they're so successful. They're also really hard to spot. We drove right past him just now and didn't even see him. Especially in the shade like this where his coat isn't shining in the sun with that beautiful gold. So if you don't know what you're looking for and he's sitting still or lying flat, you might completely miss him. Been very interesting to watch him this morning. He's been lying in the shade, but just on the top edge of the shade cast by the cliff. And every 5 minutes or so, that sun is moving past that the shade is moving very quickly. And then he'll get up, move and flop down. And this is actually the first time that he's come over into a decent patch of shade right at the base of this race. So the sun won't move as fast, or the shadow won't, I should say. With their size, I actually wouldn't be surprised if you managed to get this part of the territory. Certainly looks like he's comfortable here. Dolly, yes, they can. So the only animals that can't really get into our camp are things like elephants and buffaloes, but the other animals can. He has been a frequent visitor of camp before, And as we sit here, we are less than 500 meters from camp as is in the riverbed. So the riverbed is actually, it's the same riverbed, it curves around behind me, and tented camp is just behind where we are sitting. So peaceful down here. It's easy to see why he loves it, why he's comfortable. It really is the perfect spot for a leopard this time of the day. William, a leopard's hunting style would actually depend a bit on the area. Of the time they're using camouflage and ambushing. So they would use their camouflage to be able to stalk up to something. And once they are close enough within a certain range, then they can ambush something by jumping out and attacking. It's not like the wild dogs and the hyenas that would use speed in a pack. They're more similar to the lions, which would then also use camouflage and stalking up to something and then ambushing it as close as they can get. Leopards, however, are much more successful with their hunting than lions are. Because they're alone, it's much easier for them to hide. They're smaller, they've got a more camouflaged coat in terms of this particular habitat that we're in. They're also smaller and lighter, which means that they can move faster. So they are quite a bit more successful than lions when it comes to hunting. It's also very hard to keep a leopard in or out of anywhere because they can climb so well, because they are so hard to detect. You might not know when there's one around. They're pretty much distributed all over South Africa, Southern Africa, into Africa. There's even leopards that you can find, or versions of a leopard, in like Asia. And because of that, I think people have a misconception about them, thinking that they're only in these kinds of areas when actually they might be found pretty much anywhere. We're going to stay with him for a little bit longer, see what he does. I think he might move again just now because the sun is starting to catch up to him. And I'll send you over to Steve.
And what a wonderful story. A leopard, well, I suppose tragic as well, but what an amazing survival story. 8 months. 8 months is young, everybody, for a leopard to survive. And it just goes to show how adaptable they are, going and feeding off of vultures' nests and the like. I mean, they reckon a lion, younger than 15 months, no chance of survival. They reckon a leopard is sort of gauged at the same sort of region. That's what they reckon. There's independence starts from about that age, but obviously we've seen evidence of 10, 12 months and now 8 months leopard surviving. That's quite incredible. Okay, so we'd like to find a leopard of our own, so we're just going to see if we can pick up on any activity of Kalamba from last night. She was heading a little bit more south from where Tristan had her yesterday. Someone was with her last night and she was heading back towards Vuitela. So I'm just coming to check the road where the tracks were last seen. This road itself's been driven. We might be lucky. We might be lucky. We wouldn't mind getting another cat on the screen for you. I haven't seen the princess, soon to be the queen of her new area. I think she's ready. She seems to be taking this sort of lower section. Let me show you actually where we are. Anastasia, have I ever seen a leopard in my camp? I saw Kalamba on my porch last time I was here. I heard this noise outside. I opened my curtain and she was on my porch. She ran off. She was having interaction with a hyena. So yes, we've had many leopards in camp. Shaduli walked past me one day while we were doing our checks. Remember that, Thea? You were there. She walked right past me, maybe 1.5 meters past where I was standing. It was quite incredible. Okay, so we're over here right now on this road called Longpold West. The lions we had at Sydney's Dam over there, right in the southwestern parts of Buffelshoek. So this is all Buffelshoek here. This whole big area up here is all Buffelshoek. And so we're right over there at the moment. And she was seen on this road coming south. Tristan had her on the Harderkoel access, which is just there, coming south. And she'd come from the south. So maybe she's gone back or maybe she's in the area. But she's spending a lot of time in this area and then into Djuma. So maybe she's just trying to find that perfect spot, that perfect placement in amongst all of the other leopards to find a beautiful denning site for her cubs. Okay, I'm going to put the map away and we're going to continue on. It's not too far away from Vuitela and Gallagher camps, but she is renowned for walking quite far. Tristan mentioned she was looking rather plump yesterday. So would she need to walk far? Maybe she just went for a drink. Let's have a look. Tracks don't lie. Connie, why do lions live in prides? That's the question you should ask yourself. All cats, apart from lion, are solitary. So it seems to be the norm when it comes to cats. Although many people who've got many domestic cats at home, they seem to live in quite nice communities. But in general, cats are solitary. Lions, though, have gone and decided to be prides so that they can deal with prey that's way bigger than themselves. So leopards fit into a perfect niche with regards to the prey animals they feed on. Quite a variety. Lions feed on sort of the bigger spectrum, and instead of the lion becoming much bigger, they formed prides so as to take down bigger prey animals. There's evidence that the saber-toothed tiger was an enormous beast, but they became very sort of unsustainable from a body size point of view, predator point of view, and so that sort of trait, being a huge predator, was lost. And instead of the lions becoming much bigger than they are, they formed prides. So that is the general way. Obviously, we have cheetahs that form coalitions. And that's to the benefit or betterment of them. But in general, if you find leopards together, it's a mating pair or it's a female with her cubs. We do see they do spend a lot more time together than we give them credit for. I mean, the amount of times we've spent with 2-3 leopards in a sighting, I think they do like to hang out, but we don't always see it. The books certainly don't talk about it the way we've shown it on the show. So they probably have little meetings in the dead of night. Shh, let's pretend we're solitary and we'll just hang out all together and then we'll split off just before they come and track us in the morning. About to come up to the road, FAULCONBRIDGE, which we'll check tracks coming south to see where the Princess Tlalamba might have gotten to.
For the month of January 2021, we are offering a chance to win a unique WildEarth expedition to the magnificent Tswalu Kalahari. From the ancient Kortai's Koranenberg Mountains to the southern Kalahari's red sand dunes, Tswalu offers what travelers crave most: space and time. The winner will explore this landscape in a vehicle, on foot, or on horseback, with a chance to go behind the scenes with WildEarth and of course meet the meerkats. The prize includes a 3-night stay for you and a friend at the luxury Motse Lodge, including flights from either Johannesburg or Cape Town. Open to all WildEarth explorers who have signed up before the end of January 2021. Terms and conditions apply.
Hi, my name is Taylor McCurdy and I'm coming to you from Eco Training here on Pridelands. My most favorite animal in Africa has to be the elephant that's behind me, and this is Kumo, you'll meet him. But elephants just in general, they're really sociable, they're always doing something, and I love to see the interactions between the members of the herd.
Catch up with the guides daily here on WildEarth.
My name is Lauren and I'm currently working in Djuma Private Game Reserve here in South Africa. I love answering your questions during the live safaris. It's my favorite part. It feels like you're on the vehicle with me and I'm able to teach you exactly what you want to know. If you want to ask a question on WildEarth, then you need to register on our website. Once registered, you must go to the live safari page and ask your question below the live feed.
Nest. The hammerkop was on it just now, but unfortunately has disappeared from there. There used to be the biggest black mamba that used to live in there. I saw it a few times, kind of just curling up into that nest. It's quite disconcerting. I would imagine if you're a hammerkop and there's this huge mamba that's kind of hanging around your nesting site, not really ideal. But the reason that I'm here is not because of that nest. I came looking for this wood owl, so I'm in the drainage line, and I've just been kind of scanning all of the big trees. Unfortunately, I don't think this wood owl will be on this side. I just came just to see these leadwoods and see maybe if it was had repurposed that hammerkop nest for itself. But because the hammerkop is sitting there, then we kind of know that the wood owl won't be there. I think more likely this wood owl is sitting in the thicker groves that are further to my east. But there is a kind of, one of the landowners' houses is between me and the grove, so I need to go out and around and then go and just sit and kind of have a look. It's also really not the right time to be doing owl searching. I mean, yes, you can find them sleeping, but the best time would be this evening at around sunset, when we maybe can catch a call, and then from the call it becomes a lot easier to be able to find them in this very dense, thick bush. It kind of narrows down trees and makes it much easier for me to be able to find them. A wood owl is a bird that will sit very close to the kind of stalks of branches in the day with its eyes closed, and it actually camouflages quite well. They can be quite tricky little birds to find at the best of times. So we'll just have to see. Maybe we get lucky, maybe we don't. But it's worth a try. I thought it would be good just to come down and double check anyway. Unfortunately, so what I'm going to do is go round and onto the other side. Also down here, what's another bird that's nice to kind of look for is the night heron. They're around further down, as well as pink kingfisher, malachite kingfisher. They also like to hang around in this little section. Okay, I'm going to just get out of here and turn. In the meantime, though, let's send you back to Phinda.
Welcome back, everybody, to Phinda, where quite a large herd of impala have made their way down to the watering hole and are making a swift exit. All very jittery as they came down to drink, and now making their way back up to higher ground and perhaps to spots of shade further away from this watering hole. No crocodiles in here that I've seen. All of them managed to have a drink without any interference. But as soon as they've now had their thirst quenched, they back up and off away from the watering hole. But quite a popular spot, this. A giraffe looking in this direction, which I wouldn't be surprised if it comes here to have a drink. Egyptian goose that you heard just now. There's a yellow-billed stork as well. But I think every watering hole is going to be quite popular today because it is going to be such a hot day. A lot of animals, particularly the water-dependent ones, will come down and drink now while it heats up, and then maybe a little bit later on this afternoon and into the evening when it starts to cool down a little bit more. All of these impala look like they've got red socks from this very red iron-rich soil that you see here as they run away. And that's them. Grant let me know that he has found tracks of a leopard in the vicinity, quite a distance away from us where we are now, but close to where we saw that one last night, so I wouldn't be surprised if it pops up. We might go give him a hand in that area just now. But just watching this giraffe, not something that you see very often, is them coming down to the water to drink. They get a lot of moisture from the moisture and the greenery that they eat. But we're going to head off to Tristan, and I think I'm going to go join Grant, see if we can't find that leopard this morning.
Well, as you can see, we've found another pair of hammerkops that is busy with some nest maintenance, and I'm actually a little bit sad to see them with this nest. The reason being is that this used to be a barn owl nest. And so, I mean, they must have unfortunately disappeared, and these guys are now taking over what was once theirs. It's always sad when we don't see our owls. I really enjoy owls, and particularly the ones that we don't see a lot of, like the barn owls. They're a bird that we see very infrequently in this area, and they were using it for a little bit back in, I think it was it 2017, 2018, somewhere there. And then they kind of just disappeared out of it, and obviously these two have since moved in. Now, talking of barn owls, they're actually the most widespread owl across the world. You find them all over the place. And that brings me to another point, which is finding things in your own gardens and nature. We have spoken about it the last couple of days, but for those of you that missed it, we are currently doing a Solace in Nature kind of drive, which is basically to try and unify all of you and to try and kind of hear all your stories from your lockdowns and how you found solace in nature. So if you want to kind of be a part of it, just remember you can just send a 30-second video of yourself and where you are and what little bit of nature you found, whether it be a barn owl nest that's in your garden or any nesting bird really, to deer, to a frog, to anything that really has kind of soothed your soul during what's been quite a difficult time. That'll be amazing, and you can do that on pretty much any of our platforms. So at FC on YouTube, hashtag WildEarth on Twitter, WildEarth Live on Facebook, and then in the comment sections of the various other feeds that we have. So it'll be really cool to see it. Like I say, I mean, it's amazing what the power of nature can do when it comes to kind of soothing one's soul when we're under a bit of stress. I wonder if they're moving into this nest and maybe abandoning that other one. It'd be interesting to know, because they seem to be sort of unsure about this nest. Messing about with it, and it seems like they're cleaning it and just generally putting things where they want it to be. So maybe the owls have recently moved out, or whatever it was, has already moved out, and now these guys are starting to move in. What is that? Can anybody see what that was? Is it an old egg? It is. It's an old eggshell. Why have you got old eggshells in there? So these guys are notorious. There we go. We just removed the old eggshell. Getting rid of all the fluff. Repositioning everything. So there's more eggs coming out. So that's now the second egg. And there's actually a piece of an egg in front as well. So that would be potentially 3 different eggs that this hammerkop is busy kind of cleaning out of there. But these guys are notorious birds for grabbing all kinds of things and putting it into their nests. Anything, much like crows, anything that's kind of shiny and stuff, they often take to the nest itself. And I wonder if this isn't a display that we're seeing from the bird to the partner. So maybe the male bird to the female bird, to just be like, look, I'm cleaning the nest, I'm making a nice home. It's very possible, or it's the female just kind of cleaning up. But look, you see how they trying to repurpose this nest. So this is them prepping to actually have chicks. Amazing, isn't it? It's not a bird we get to see that often at the nest sites. Generally, it's kind of a bird that spends most of its time when we see it at water. But it's most definitely cleaning the inside of this chamber. And those eggs are very, very big. You can see there comes a whole bunch of feathers, just lining the front, making it look all nice. She's directing from the top. Honey, no, I want it there. I don't want it there. Yes, that looks good. Project manager up top. That's for sure. You see how they're placing all of the fluff right at the entrance to the nest, which is weird. Douglas, you probably find that because it's so close to the dam, they're flying past it all the time and noticing that it's just an empty cavity. They then come and check and land here, and if there's an owl, obviously they're going to see it, and if there's eggs or any sort of chick inside there, they're going to see it too. So that's how they kind of know. If they see that there's nothing in there, there's no signs of anything, nothing that's fresh, then you'll find that they know that it's no longer... Oh, there goes a stick. What's going on here? You're destroying the entrance to your home or beautifying it. I can't decide yet. There's sticks being dropped and eggs and all kinds of fluff being lined at the entrance. I'm looking through binos just to try and see if there is any sign of anything else inside there, but there isn't. So it's not like they've got chicks. There comes a feather. A very old feather. I'm not sure this bird is enamored with these branches that are kind of covering the entrance to this nest. Fascinating though, isn't it? I wonder why it's lining the entrance like this. So KKG, this nest has been made over years. You know, it would have been a Hammerkop nest to start with. And every year a little bit has been added onto it. So it's difficult to say, you know, when it started. But in terms of, let's say, a new Hammerkop pair building a nest, pretty quick. You'll be surprised. They get something like this done within, you know, a month at least, easily. If they just fly back and forth every day, grabbing bits of wood, they eventually build these incredible structures that you see here. And like I say, this originally was a Hammerkop nest before the barn owls. So we used to have Hammerkops nesting here in 2011, 2012. They then moved to that nest I showed you just now. And then the barn owls kind of moved in, and maybe, you know, they've decided their other nest is no good. Maybe the Mamba neighbor was being a handful for the chicks, and they've decided to now use this, or it's just another pair that's in the area and they're going to be using this nest instead of the other one. It's just weird. I mean, I've never seen them lining the entrance like this. You know, you often see birds lining the insides where they're going to lay their eggs and where the chicks are obviously going to spend time. But you can see how all of the stuff that it's brought out is not purposely being dropped. So it's not like it's ejecting shells out of the nest. What it's doing more is lining that entrance as much as possible. So you see how... Oh, let's not drop that one. Of course it would have. But you see at the front there's so much fluff that it's kind of loosely packed. And I have no idea why. We must keep a close eye on this. I reckon we'll have little chicks here fairly soon. I don't think we're going to be too long and there's going to be screaming little Hammerkops inside there. The problem is that this nest is very exposed, particularly to snakes. They're going to have a big problem with snakes in this area. There's going to be a lot of attention. It's really open. There's not a lot of trees around it to kind of hide its view. And so I wouldn't be surprised something like a harrier hawk or snake or monitor lizard actually even gets involved here. It's so close to the water that even the water monitors might find this. Cool to watch though, all the little sticks being placed in exactly the right spot. There we go. Okay, just checking, making sure the outside looks good. Jerome, you say this is so strange. Well, it's part of nature. I mean, this is just nest building. We just don't see it as much. You know, we often watch the weavers doing their stuff, and it's a very similar thing that's happening here. It's just rearranging of the nest, making sure that it's all clean and proper and well built for when they have their chicks. So they're just preparing for their family. It's just fascinating behavior because we don't often get to see it with hammerkorps. But like I say, normally when birds line nests, they like to bring material in and line the inside, not the entrance itself, which I wonder if it's not using all of this debris as basically filler for the sticks so as that the chicks or the eggs when they lay don't potentially roll out, or I don't know, maybe that's what they're doing, is creating a little lip as well as cleaning the main chamber where the eggs are actually going to be laid. Because you see now, it's actually ejecting stuff as well as kind of packing it in front. Certainly a very busy little bird, that's for sure. Female, I'm going to say that it's the female on top. I don't know why, I'm just going to go with that. She seems to be kind of watching very carefully what's going on and making sure that there's not total destruction happening there. Maybe it's the male on top, who knows. Very difficult to sex a hammerkorp. As you can see, there's not very much dimorphism between these two birds. Both individuals look exactly the same. Fascinating. All right, well, we'll keep kind of returning to this nest and just watching the progress. It's such a nice nest because we've got a really nice view into it, and normally hammerkorp nests are so high up that you don't. But while we kind of move on and contemplate nest building, let's send you across to Phinda.
Welcome back to Phinda, everybody. We've been patiently sitting at that same watering hole where we saw the impala earlier on, just waiting for that giraffe to come down and have a bit of a drink. Display its front legs out and put its head down to the water, which it did do just now, but not for very long, so I'm hoping that it will do the same while we're still sitting here. Egyptian geese that come with every body of water in southern Africa. Yellow-billed stork. Here we go. Yeah, we might see it again. And just taking its time like that to make sure that there's nothing lurking below the surface of the water, or perhaps a pride of lions lying around in the shade of the areas around this watering hole. But have a look at this as it goes down. A couple of oxpeckers as well that might look now to take the opportunity to drink, as the giraffe does the same. Maybe land on its limbs or jump on its head for when it puts its head down to have a drink of water themselves. But just making sure that the coast is completely clear before it goes down to have a drink. And maybe just being on its own lacks the confidence of that herd of impala earlier, where, you know, they're almost, because there's so many of them, as soon as the one goes down to drink, they all do the same. Have a look at this. Watch how it flicks its head up as it's finished having its drink. See how it just gives its head a bit of a nudge forward when it's done drinking. And now that it's in that same position, maybe goes down straight away again, doesn't stand upright, and make sure the coast is clear. But very vulnerable when they do go down to drink like that, particularly around a watering hole where, it's not a bad spot for predators to lurk around. So probably just making sure of us parked here up on the dam wall. See, the oxpecker is also going down to drink next door to it, down and then straight back up onto the giraffe. And that's often when you'll see oxpeckers drinking, is when they are on mammals that are busy drinking themselves. Otherwise, on hippos, they'll land on the backs of hippos and then venture down to the water from there and have a drink of water. But I think that might just be it from this giraffe in terms of drinking this morning. Going to be a super hot day. I wouldn't be surprised if there are other mammals, bigger mammals like rhino that might come down. Glenn, you're asking if bigger animals won't make a trench to make it safe for drinking. No. You might see on a dam wall where elephants have gouged out mud to create a bit of a wallow, but not so much a trench, because things like lions and leopards will use those trenches to hunt themselves. And if it provides them with a little bit of cover and concealment to hunt, even better for the predators. So not so much gouging out trenches for them to drink. They'd rather drink in a spot like this where it's at least a little bit more open. They can make sure the coast is clear before. No crocodiles in the water, no predators outside of the water, and then they'll eventually come down to quench their thirst. And this watering hole drying up at a rapid rate. We are in desperate. Oh, there's a water monitor on the far side, just above the blacksmith lapwings, cruising along the shores of this watering hole. Maybe looking for a bird's nest with some eggs in it, with some eggs in it, or the likes. Might still just be able to see it walking along the side. And also something that you might see in a watering hole going from one side to another is something like that water monitor. Really well camouflaged in those lighter shades of grass on the banks of this dam. There you might get a nice view as it crosses that path. Maggie, you're asking how far a water monitor will move in a day. I suppose it just depends on how far food is for it around a watering hole or wherever it may be. In terms of this one, maybe not too far from this particular watering hole. If this one dries up, it might have to venture off to another one, which in its case is a couple hundred meters away. sometimes maybe a little bit further, just depending on where water is and where it can find food. But there are a lot of birds like the lapwings and thickneys that will nest around the watering hole, so a good spot for it to look for eggs. Maybe there's crocodile nests and eggs that it's able to find there that it will also then feed on. So yeah, a couple 100 meters, maybe a little bit further if needs be. We're going to head off to Tristan to see what he's found.
Well, nice little surprise is that we found out Thandi, not just her son, but she's wandering about as well, which is good. And she's not too far away from where we last saw her. He's kind of behind us in the direction that she's traveling, but I'm just going to go back, give her a bit of space, although she's going to sit in the road. Hello, girl. Are you having a nice morning? She's just going to sit there and be like, I own this road today. Pretty girl. She's busy sniffing around. I wonder if she's maybe not on the hunt. It seems like she's come out of Torchwood, kind of coming back towards her cub. So maybe she's been looking for food throughout the evening. And, now is starting to kind of slowly head back to the cub. But on the way, looking for any signs of food. You can see how she's got her nose to the air. To give you an idea of where we are, this is exactly where we had the altercation with Kuchava a few weeks ago. So she's kind of pushed in this area and has almost said to Kuchava, even though she seemed to be the more submissive of the two that day, that this is now where she's going to hang around. And it's maybe why she's just smelling a little bit. It could be just because she's kind of aware that there is the scent of this other leopard around, and last time she was kind of in this area, she had to be careful of it. Okay, Thandi, off you go, girl. Always has like a little look when she comes past. It's kind of this look of disdain. That's probably the right word to put it. As if to say, you're in my way out. Surprised actually she came as close as she did today. Normally she goes like the long way around. But today she just let us kind of sits in the road and her come past. I'm just going to let another vehicle go past and kind of enjoy her on the road for a bit. Bernie, you say your day is made. Glad to hear it, Bernie. A treat to see. She's obviously one of the kind of legends of this area. Beautiful leopardess as well, and has been around for so long that it's always so pleasant to kind of spend time with her and see her. Oh, lovely, Thandi. Nice. There's a little fresh leopard poo in the road now. Wonder if that's not her meal from, was it not? Well, it can't be from yesterday or the day before. She would have already ejected most of that. That's got to be from before then. I mean, from another meal that she's had. Maybe she had a little scrub here at some point. All right, so we're going to carry on following her, but it sounds like something's happening in Prrivate, so quickly send you across there.
Well, it's a bit of an abstract view for the moment, so you're all going to just have to bear with us. And hopefully this big male lion that is standing behind the knobthorn trees and a couple of other species decides to come out. But he is a beautiful specimen nonetheless. But it's very difficult, unfortunately, for us to off-road in this area, as where that line is, it is sodic, and we don't like to drive on those spaces. My name is Taylor McCurdy, and on camera with me today is Gert, and we're here at Prrivate Conservancy, which is part of Tswalu Game Reserve and the Greater Kruger National Park. Now, this is just one of two big male lions, which is awesome. They are not the young whippersnappers that occasionally grace our presence. I don't know who they are yet, so I'm just trying to have a little look. I think I've seen one of them before. There was a beautiful big male lion not too long ago.
Because when we were looking at Ezulwini, the last time we saw Ezulwini in the afternoon, I think we managed to go live with him, he arrived too. So I have a suspicion that it is the same male. But if they can come out into the open, that would be great. Now, there's much confusion about the lion dynamics. I think these two male lions could be a different two that we typically see with the Ngati pride, which is the pride of lions that lives around on Kwengo and sort of towards the northeastern side of Jajani. And I suspect that there's another two male lions that roam around on this sort of northwestern corner of Pridelands and then into Jajani, which is just to our north as well. And maybe they extend as far as going into Baluli. I'm not really sure. Unfortunately, we don't get to see these animals regularly and almost on a day-to-day basis, and there hasn't been sort of much pressure on them to name them and follow them all the time. So we've got to put the puzzles together. So I doubt that these boys have names, or if they do, I'm not sure of them. So hopefully we can get some nice screenshots and those types of things when they do come out into the open. But that's the view that we've got right now, and I can't do much more about it. Kev, my goodness, you haven't even seen them yet and you already love them. Goodness gracious, wait till you see how beautiful they are when they come out into the open. You're going to fall right off of your chair. They are very, very big boys. Darkish manes, which is always lovely to see. It's just nice to see fully grown males. Sorry, again, I have to control. Yeah, Ephraim, it's like a 1 out of 5 visual at the moment, unfortunately. You can't cross this one section. It's all underwater, this drainage line. Sorry, everybody. A negative, Dev, I'm going to have to go radio down. I'm just live. There you go. Sorry about that. So that's unfortunately the view that we've just got at the moment. I don't know where the other male is. Again, in order for me to try and locate him, I need to do a bit of off-roading, but it's very difficult at the moment to off-road and be live at the same time because the grass is so long. And it's so easy to drive into rocks and stumps as is, and also drive over the animals. You got to do it nice and slowly and make sure you watch what's going on. I mean, you can have a look why we can't go around. Actually, we show them this big puddle of water that's filled this whole drainage line. So this is why we can't get a better view. You can see this water runs all the way through the drainage. Also, there's lots of massive rocks, and the other sections that we can cross, we'll wedge ourselves between them. So, yeah, this is it. I can't really comment too much more on the lines because I don't know what they look like. But hopefully we'll be able to get a better view in just a moment.
So yeah, guys, we went to go and have a look quickly to see if we can find the females with the cubs. Found tracks, but unfortunately no lions. So we're heading back to where we had those other lions earlier this morning to see what they are up to. Just as we left, they all went up a little bit away from the waterhole, I'm assuming to get some shade. But we'll go and have a look now to see what they are doing. I'm hoping also, though, that female with the small, the 4 small cubs, the ones that we haven't been able to put on screen yet, will be large enough soon to join the rest of the females with the cubs. It's just going to be incredible having 10 cubs all together playing and doing, all sorts of things, So that would be great. We'll have to see that when she decides to introduce them into the pride, because they're only about 6, maybe 7 weeks old now. So it would be interesting to see how long she will wait before she's going to, introduce them to the world. However, I'm rather keen to see what these youngsters are up to. With them being young lions, their behavior is sometimes a little bit more irregular than what you'd find with adult lions. If there's adults in the pride, you'll find that they have a set routine, but the youngsters, they do their own thing sometimes. So you might sometimes find them still being active now, or we might get there and there's a blue wildebeest and they're busy stalking it or whatever. So we'll have to see. It's going to be cool. But I do think they're going to be in the shade at the moment, though. So yeah.
As you can see, Thandi and I are bonding. We're having a moment here. She's just chilling. I don't know if maybe she's picking up the scent of something, but she's very, very, very careful with the way that she's walking. She's smelling every blade of grass in her attempt to kind of figure out whatever it is that she's trying to figure out. And you can see that nose is to the air the whole time. She's just kind of lifting her nose, sniffing, and sniffs the grass, walks 1 or 2 steps, sniffs, goes and walks 1 or 2 steps. So maybe Kuchava or Kuchava's cub has walked here. You never know. Maybe a male leopard has been here, and she's just figuring out what's going on, because she was also talking just now, and we know her cub is nowhere near here. So it can't be that. Look how she folds her ears back as she walks through the grass. Isn't that cool? I love watching them. She knows how sensory they are. So as she walks through the long grass, she just turns them slightly just to make life a little bit easier for her to be able to hear and figure out her surroundings without being disturbed too much in this long grass. But you see her movement is quite erratic. She's zigzagging quite a lot. It's typical of Thandi, but something else about today. She's very cautious as she's walking. She's not kind of her normal cat on a mission self, where she goes fast. She's just slowly kind of moving her way through the grass and stopping and being very attentive. All right, so let's catch up with her, because otherwise we'll lose her in the next 2 seconds. We all know how easy it is for her to give anybody the slip. She's got to disappear on a moment's notice. Where did you go, girl? This grass is so long these days. So with her, I always try and drive a little bit more gently. I don't try and rush her, because otherwise she gets a little bit frustrated with you and can be a bit kind of unhappy about it. And that's probably why we lose her a lot of the time, is because we give her a little bit more leeway than many of the others. Oh, yes, she is, yeah. She's just going to come in front of the vehicle, still sniffing about. Changed direction completely now. She was going kind of south, and now she's heading back north again. Definitely on the scent of something. Her nose is constantly on these grass stalks. I wonder. Maybe Kuchava. It's very, very possible. Like I said, it's exactly in the area where we've seen her have an altercation with Kuchava in the past. In fact, the tree was right there that the kill was in. So we know that she has been in this area with her before. Maybe that's why she's sniffing around. It's a nice big termite mound coming up. I'm kind of hoping she's going to go up there rather than carry on through this thicket. It's a very, very, very difficult area to negotiate, even dry, let alone now where you can see a thing in this long grass. There's lots of big stumps in here. I'm just going to be a bit careful as we go. She's just here on our left still, so she's not going towards the mound. She's bypassed that completely. Just try and see if I can get around. Alright, I'm going to try and catch up with her and try and see where she's off to. In the meantime, though, let's send you across to Tess.
So we are back with the Makoti male here at andBeyond Ngala, and you can hear the crunching of bones. He's back up the Tambweti tree eating the impala that he must have caught during the night last night. He's done a very good job of hiding this carcass. You can literally barely see it, and in fact all we can see of him is that head and then a little piece of his bum and his tail. So he must have decided that it was getting a bit too hot in the riverbed, so he came back over to the tree and thought, well, I'm here, I might as well have a snack. He's got a nice cool breeze up there, which means that he's cool even though he's up in the tree. Wow, look at those teeth. Oh, he's actually got some blood on the side of his face now too. So he actually looks like he's crunching on a piece of the rib cage, possibly. Imagine how strong those teeth are with all that bone breaking going on. Oh my goodness, that sound is incredible. So if we were coming past him, I don't think we would see him, because he's actually hidden the carcass just on the other side of the main stem or the trunk of the tree, and he's in quite a dense area. So all around the gap that we're in is thick with leaves. And in fact, we went looking for him in the ring of the bones, and that's why we came back over this way, because we couldn't even see him in the tree. We actually did look in the tree first and couldn't spot him. Rochelle, leopards will learn how to hunt from their mothers, and they'll often stay with their mom until around 2 years old, and throughout that time, from a very young age, they're interested in any movement, so things like francolins or spurfowls or mongooses, squirrels, even lizards and snakes. And so they'll start practicing like that, but they also practice some of their skills by playing with the mom and also playing with each other. But the mom will actually teach them how to hunt over those 2 years. And often what she might do is, if she does manage to catch something like a baby impala or a baby warthog, she might actually bring it back to them alive and then let them practice killing it. But it all comes through trial and error. It's a process of learning as you go. And so that's why we were really surprised when Nell and his brother have been doing so well and managed to teach themselves majority of hunting, because they were only at the age where they were starting to be interested in watching their mom make kills that he killed. And so it was a very, very nerve-wracking time for us, I want to say, to be able to watch that happening and not knowing whether or not they would actually learn to hunt. But they do have a lot of natural instincts as well, so they would just go off of those urges, practice with trial and error. But have a look how well he blends into that tree. If you drove past this tumble now, you would have no idea there was a leopard in there, unless you heard the crunching of the car, or maybe saw a little bit of movement from his tail. But it's a very dense tree. That crunching is quite loud though, so it is something that you should hear if the vehicle is off. So I'm going to sit here for a while with Makoti male enjoying his meal. I want to spend every second with him. I'm going to send you over to andBeyond Phinda.
Welcome back everybody to Phinda, where we've come across 4 white rhino. You can see quite a young calf on the left hand side, and just size wise in comparison to the rest, relatively small, least about a third of the size of the adults. There might be here cow and her calf, maybe a previous calf, and then that one that you see there just behind it now. And then there was a fourth, maybe a big bull that was walking with them, all with their heads down, busy feeding at the moment. You can see the youngster with his ears up, just listening. It sounds like there's another vehicle on its way towards us. Just keeping a watchful eye out. And experience-wise, the adults all have their heads down, busy feeding, but the youngster head up, just listening. Unfamiliar sounds of the bush that it's got going here with the cruisers driving past. Almost like radars, and it looks like just a little bit further left of them in the shade, quite a large antelope, maybe a hasn't moved again, but maybe a kudu. Looks like the ear of a kudu just off to the left. But a really good sense of smell, both smell and hearing those white rhino. Not the best of eyesight, probably better than what we give them credit for. But all slowly making their way up, and in the direction that they're going are a couple of watering holes, or mud wallows now, should I say, rather, that they'll probably go and lie up in and cake themselves in mud during the heat of the day, which will, when it dries up, help get rid of ticks and parasites and the likes. I think we'll probably lose sight of them in a short while as they disappear into the woodlands. But an absolute treat to see those rhino out this morning, at least out in the open, albeit briefly. Here comes the fourth that I spoke about, maybe that big bull. See him feeding around a termite mound, often in and around termite mounds. The grass is quite a bit shorter. It's quite a bit more nutrient rich for the rhino to feed on. So that's why you'll often see, almost looks like they've been mowed, that one now spraying. See that tail curled up. Yeah, big old bull bringing up the rear of the rest of them. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see them later on this afternoon in one of those mud wallows that we spoke of. The four of them, that's exactly where they're heading to. I'm convinced of it. But super special to see. We might have to give up the search now that it is warming up too much for that leopard. This afternoon when it cools off might be a little bit better, but we're going to set off to Tristan to see what he's got.
Well, we're still following Thandi. She's edging through these thickets ever so slowly at the moment, which is being a great help, because otherwise I don't think we can keep up with her. It's really not easy in here. There you are, you sniffing again. She's just in front of the car. The grass is so long that we kind of lose her every now and then, and luckily, she's walking so slowly that if you just loop around, you can generally catch her. And particularly that white tail, you can see how the tail is kind of gives her away, and so it's always good when following in long grass like this is to actually stay behind her a lot of the time rather than trying to get ahead. When the grass is thinner, you can obviously see nice and easy, and you can kind of go around and figure it out. But here, using the white tail is a huge help in being able to follow her. A bit of other news. It sounds like Nzutini and Kara are having a bit of a showdown this morning, which is going to be interesting to try see if we can maybe go get them this afternoon. They apparently have been boxing for the last sort of 15 minutes. I think there's a kill involved, I don't know, but we'll try this afternoon. I'm just waiting to get the exact location. It might be on Arethusa, but I think it might be on some Mamili, so it'll be interesting. I have yet to see Kara, funny enough. A lot of you might be quite shocked to know that. Just always have missed her. She's not a leopard I've spent much, well, I've never, like I say, never actually even seen her. I lie, sorry, I have seen her once, which was on foot though, so I wouldn't even really count it, and the visual of her was kind of just an eye staring at me through very long grass. It was at a similar time of the year last year, and we were on bushwalk and we were tracking them, and we found them on a kill, but the grass was so long, all we could hear was this low vibrating growl from Shadulu. And Kara kind of moved away from us and then just sort of stood for a second looking at us, and then Shadulu joined her and we saw the two of them, and then they sort of went into the grass and we called James in to take over. But that was quite an unsettling sighting in some respects, because as we were walking, we got to closer than what I am to her now and had zero idea that those leopards were there. It was only when we heard the flies all take off the carcass and the buzzing, and then we heard that little low grumble. And like I said, when you're this close and you can't see where the grumble's coming from, it's very unsettling. Luckily, Shadulu was an absolute champion and she didn't disturb us or do anything to us. She just kind of carried on actually eating eventually. It was pretty cool. We ended up standing about the distance that I am now from Thandi. And Kara came back, and then Shadulu actually just started feeding right there in front of us. Didn't really care at all. And then once James was in, we backed out and we were able to get away. No problem. The thing is, we had no idea she was on a kill there. We had heard that she was in the area, and we were just trying to check game paths for tracks. And there's a game path that led towards a place that I know Shadulu often walks, and we managed to kind of pick her up in that, which was by some miracle. We just walked the exact right place at the right time. And she was being gentle on that day. Thandi, seriously? This is starting to become no joke in here now. I actually don't even know if I'm going to be able to follow her much further. It starts to get really rough in here. A lot of roundleaf teak, which is what worries me, because they have little hidden stumps. I'm just going to go as far as this termite mound in front, because it looks like she's kind of heading in that direction. She's just on my left and hidden. So while we wait for her to head there, I'll send you across to Tess.
So we are sitting in the riverbed with the Makoti male still up the tree. He's actually just decided that he's going to stop feeding for a while and move along a branch. But I wanted you to see how difficult it actually is to spot him in this tree. We have absolutely no view of this leopard, and we know exactly which branch he's on right now. And you can't see him. And incredible. So I'm actually going to back up for you, and we'll see if we can get a view from the other branch. But it just shows you, I mean, we watched him move. We saw exactly where he went, and yet we cannot see him. I can see a little chunk of a leg, I think. We're gonna try it and see if we can get through the leaves. I see spots. So it's incredible to think that, we must drive past so many leopards that we have no idea are there. And just like Tristan was saying, even on foot, I've had a similar experience where you're tracking on foot. You had no idea that the leopard was close by, and that's exactly what happens. You'll be tracking, and these leopards are just so good at hiding. And in fact, it was his older half-sister, the male, that I was tracking. And we had absolutely no idea that she was incredibly close to us until we had actually walked right past her. And then she decided to make herself known. And it is quite unsettling to think how close you can get and not know any differently. And this is exactly why. I mean, we know exactly where he is, but to actually get a view of him is incredibly difficult. And that coat is perfectly designed. You can see with the way that the tree is designed with the leaves. there's little patches of sunlight that come through the gaps in the leaves. And that's what his coat is supposed to almost mimic, is the shady patches and the sunlight, little spots coming of a tree when he's lying in it. And it works very well. He's just put one of his legs down. So we are going to sit here and hope that we can find a gap to view him a little bit better, and I'll send you over to andBeyond Phinda in the meantime.
Welcome back to Phinda, everybody. We've come to those mud wallows that we spoke of, that we thought those rhinos would eventually end up in, and we found quite a big buffalo bull that's now turned, and he's exposed quite a big gash on the back right hand side of his body, and tricky to say exactly what caused that, but you know, one would assume something like lions, although the lions here in Phinda are spoiled with other plains game, Ngala, wildebeest and the likes that they'd prefer rather than something like this. That could very well be from another buffalo bull that it potentially got into a fight with. But it's quite a large gash. Very superficial looking, that it's just like a surface wound that's been exposed. Nothing too serious for him to worry about, but yeah, on a really hot day like today, come down to the mud wallow, go cake himself in mud, try and get somewhat cool, because outside of that little mud wallow, I can promise you that it is a scorcher of a day here. A little bit of a breeze blowing, so when he gets out a little bit later and that starts to dry him off, will keep him cool quite a bit. Karma commenting, ouch, absolutely, it does look rather painful. I think if it was you or me, quite a bit more so than it would be for that buffalo bull, but not showing too much signs of discomfort. If there were oxpeckers around, there's red-billed oxpeckers, I can imagine that they would irritate that wound quite a bit more and drink the blood from that wound, which would cause him a little bit more irritation than anything else, but doesn't seem to be too hurt or uncomfortable from that. There's a warthog coming down to the water to join this buffalo bull as well. It looks like he's already been caked in mud, got a little bit of a sheen to his side, just sizing up who's stolen his mud wallow. And quite amusing, there was a family of warthog here just now, with a couple of piglets that this particular chap was chasing around like a mad thing. Maybe just not willing to share his wallow that's drying up at a rapid rate, which hopefully after the weekend will be quite full again with that promised rain from that storm that we've got heading our way. Have a look at the standoff between the warthog and the buffalo. I'm quite sure that they'll be happy to share the same space together. And I wouldn't be surprised if later on this morning those rhino come down to join the two of them. You can see there must be a couple of flies irritating that buffalo, and that wound of it at the back there, it keeps twitching its skin. You can see shaking every so often. And just in front of where that warthog is also looks like there's something that's been lying in there all morning. It's been disturbed and sort of churned up that mud where the warthog is. Not so keen on going back to the water just yet, that warthog. But yeah, like a spa treatment for them to sit in a mud wallow when that dries up later on, go rub themselves up against a tree or a stump, and that just helps get rid of ticks and parasites that they otherwise aren't able to free themselves of. And I think this warthog will be a little bit more proactive, maybe once it's had its drink, to come down and lie in that water, and they, a little bit more busy in the water. They'll roll around, squelch themselves around before they head off later on. Here we go. That is one very happy warthog, as it rests its head there. But far more busy, there we go. Maybe it even rolls completely around like a dog in the mud. Does a far better job of coating itself in mud compared to that of that buffalo. Resting its head every so often higher up. Douglas, you're asking if that buffalo is near the herd. It could very well, the herd could very well be in the area. He, with that injury and just being an old buffalo bull on his own, tells me that he just can't keep up with the rest of the herd, so maybe lagging behind a bit. So, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they are in the vicinity, but this particular chap, as they dub them, Dugger boys, grumpy old men like that who roll around in wallows like this all day long, is in no rush to go anywhere. Have a look at that warthog now. As it rubs itself up on the bank. Maybe got a bit of an itch there that's trying to get rid of as well, and its ear. That's amazing. Making a bit of a scene, this warthog, in the water, splashing around. But yeah, very good odds of there not being predators around, just because it has warmed up as much as it has. He can enjoy himself that much more and not worry. But now got rid of the itch, given himself a good coating of mud, scratching his ear now as well, and we'll head off to a spot to maybe rest for the heat of the day. As for the buffalo, also head down, quite content in that little mud bath or mud wallow. Miss KJ, thank you for your comment. One happy warthog and buffalo, absolutely. If they could tell us just how happy they are, I'm sure they would. But this is often when you see animals at their happiest, particularly elephants at a watering hole. When they get themselves in the water, like these two, scratching around and rolling themselves around, that's exactly what they are. Happy as anything. But hopefully on Sunday, with that promised rain from that tropical storm Eloise, that's in the Mozambican Channel as we speak, watering holes such as this will be completely full again. And you'll hear a cacophony of frogs, which is almost deafening if you park at a spot like this in the evening, from the frogs all getting vocal. Them and just, yeah, you can see the bush is in need of some serious rain very, very dry at the moment, and we haven't received the rains that we should have just yet, but hopefully the storm brings the rain that it promised. We're gonna see what else we can find in the last little bit of this morning drive, but we can head across to Steve in the meantime.
Welcome back to Djuma, everybody. We didn't have any luck with tracks for Tlalamba. We were chatting with the people who last saw her last night, but Theo's just swallowed an insect. Apologies for that noise. Insects seem to be plaguing the vehicle today. We found a lovely little breeding herd of elephants. This lady's had a bit of a wash. She's going to push herself through the thicket and hide away. Okay there, Theo. There we go. That's what happens when elephants decide to go into the bush, everybody. That's how dense it is. You can still hear her moving through. Maybe we get another view of her on the other side. Let's just move up a little bit. Playing a game of hide and seek. There you are. Beautiful girl. She's finding I don't want to have this conversation. They make me laugh this year. You must see when James is here. Yeah. Yes, he makes fun of Steve there.
A little bit of a 5-point turn here. So at the moment, I don't know if we're going to get to see him. He's literally right at the base of this tree. And Seb is going to try really, really hard to get a view of him there. Yeah. So he is in this very long grass, sitting at the base of the tree. And he's decided to come down and go back into another grooming session. And you can see how that coat is just glowing in the light. So we were actually having a look at the carcass earlier, and it looks like it's already a few days old, so we don't know if another leopard had a kill and managed to sniff it out, or if maybe he's actually been here for a few days, but we didn't find him. But either way, it's very exciting because he's finally back. He is so loved. Even with that grass blowing around him, his coat is so, so stunning. I think this is one of the reasons why leopard is one of my favorites. And I love that little white tip on the backs of his ears that you can see there. And all those long hairs as well coming out of his ears. You can see as he's turning his ear to the back there. And he's sniffing the wind. Oh, flat. Shame, you can see how heavily he's breathing there. He must be incredibly hot. It must be at least 27, 28 degrees Celsius here in the shade. So he is incredibly warm after a big meal. And back to grooming. And sleeping. So I really don't think he's going to move. I think he's going to be here the rest of today. There is still probably about maybe 20% meat left on this carcass. So I'm going to see maybe he just to get up position. I'm very excited to see what happens.
How insane is that animal?
This is out of this world. Fantastic. Good, Mama.
Wow, what a way to start off.
Just such an incredible privilege to be out here. It just keeps on delivering.
There you go, there you go. Heart is pumping right now.
3, 2, 1. You are live, you are live.
Look at this, everybody. We've got a live kill.
The cock's holding the tail. It's holding tight. Lucky wildebeest.
There's nowhere to go. This is a disaster in the making.
Something that I have never seen before in my entire life that you are now watching live.
My heart is in my mouth, everybody.
Look at this. It's gonna make it. It's going, it's going.
This is just too magical. Hi, little guys. That's great, isn't it? Look at that. Scuba Steve has got a friend.
You've got a friend in me. It couldn't be a better morning. This is just too special.
Oh my goodness, we've got a turtle.
How epic is the fact that we're coming to you live from the Chobe River? It's the most incredible feeling to be here. This is live and we're in Rwanda. This is a very, very different adventure, charged with emotion.
I did not think I would ever face my fears like this.
So I'm sitting with the Makoti male again. He is relaxing, and I think he's going to be here for the rest of the day after a good meal. And we absolutely love the section of the river that we're in. And you can actually see the trees very, very tall, and when you pan over, this is actually the riverbed that he was in this morning. This is the section where he grew up as a cub, and those rock surfaces on the opposite bank, that is where the den site was for a very long time for him and his brother. So it's actually very back where we watched him grow up old. And it's really, really exciting for me in particular to see him again. I've always felt like I've had a very special bond with Makoti male. But it's been a really, really awesome morning for me. And I think all round as well. I love being able to sit here with him in the quiet and just appreciate every second with him, because we don't know what will happen. So I'm actually really, really hoping that he stays in this area for a while. He's got some flies bothering him. Beautiful boy. It'll be very special for everyone here at andBeyond and Ngala if he decides to stay in this territory and start taking it over again from a few months ago. It was almost a year ago now that I last saw him. So the last 2 days I've been on a bit of a high. He is quite alert. I'm actually surprised that there's no hyenas around here yet. With the sound of the crunching of the bones earlier and the smell of this carcass, it's definitely a few days old. Really thought there might be a few hyenas around. But he's very relaxed, so I think he'll be safe from hyenas for a while. But it definitely has been a morning all around. Definitely a cat morning, a predator morning. Especially of the spotted variety today. And I'm really hoping we get to catch up with all of our big cats again this afternoon, but thank you so much to everybody who joined us on safari today. We really hope that you enjoyed seeing all of our favorite animals out here. Please join us again this afternoon at 4 o'clock, where we'll be showing you the wonders of the African bush again.